favor of autism and how
She's
it
bumping the
can.
desk, shaking our camera all over the desk.
Whoops.
I feel like Frank is mom sometimes when we were kids, where it's just in public, like, if you do that again,
You
and
get
you're
the
like, it was an
eyes.
accident. She's like, never.
You will pay for that.
Like we said yesterday, I love rules. And one rule
Yeah.
is, you also have to think about it like this. I'm kind of like the producer of this podcast, so it's like when I say things, I'm getting more in tune with them. Then I'm like, hey,
I don't know if
You
you
are
know this,
correct.
but I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal of our unreleased so far podcast. Yeah.
Unreleased, unknown, no one cares podcast. I'm in charge of it. You're like, well, I'm happy for you. You should be because it's a big deal. I'm a big deal. You're like, okay.
With that, I want to say to our audience, welcome to the final episode of the Demon Cycle Series podcast, episode number 5. It's been a journey, but we have read through all 5 books, and today we're going to wrap it up
Yes.
as best we can.
Yeah.
But we...
Not as best we can. Let's not say that.
No. I mean, look.
Not as best we can. We're going to do a shitty review. Are you ready for it? We're about to make this, we're going to christen this Unseasoned Reviews title with what we give to you today. Very unseasoned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it when we met. We met Thursday to kind of go over, because we had this new idea. We have this new idea to how we want to go about doing the podcast, with just being able to summarize the book. For the listeners that aren't going to read it, just because, some people aren't going to read the books. And so we want to, become better orators and able to basically tell a story and do it in a shorter way. Obviously, we're not just going to read the book to you. But since we're now through 5 books and we've had that idea, we were going to go back and try and summarize all of this stuff, and it just became a huge mess because it was a lot of work. We were basically rereading the whole thing. So it's going to be, like Victoria said, it's going to be a shitty book report. And in future episodes, it will get better, because we will figure out how to do this along the way and not have to do the work twice.
Yes, go back and do everything again.
Yeah.
Read 14,000 pages or
Seriously.
1,400 pages.
More, per book.
Yeah.
So and I also want to say, like, we're kind of talking to our future listeners. This is going to get better. And thank you for being here. If you're still here, or if you're listening to this in the future and you're like, wow, you guys really sucked at the beginning. You know what? You can do things too, and you're going to suck at them, but just keep going. Because I'm projecting onto this future that we're doing really well, and we have a lot of listeners.
No, we will be.
People love us.
Trust me, we will.
So welcome to the beginnings. You can do new things too, even if you're really bad at them, and this is proof of that. So you're welcome.
Real
inspiring.
Bad.
Hey.
We are going to summarize books 1 through 4, and then what we haven't talked about yet is book 5, the core, how it wraps up. Now, one thing we didn't cover specifically was the 2 kind of novellas, is what they call them, that Peter Brett wrote. One is it's called Brian's Gold, and it's where Arlen, as his first early days of a messenger, he goes and gets gold for this guy named Bran or something. I don't know. Bran is in the book 5, so we'll talk about him a little bit. And then there's another one called The Great Bazaar, where Aubin and Arlen go and find the lost map to Anok's son, where he finds the Spear of Kaji. So those we're not going to cover because we haven't read them. But you will hear about some of the characters in this review. So it's been quite a journey. I've enjoyed it. It's sad to see it go. And actually, the 3 of us haven't even talked about book 5 yet.
Nope. Which is crazy to think about.
Yep. A lot has happened.
A lot happened in book 5.
Yeah. But I mean, look, we started this book series from book one early, and I was hooked, and I knew I loved it. And
Yeah.
throughout the entire thing, Peter kept me just entertained the entire time. Like I was captivated. So look, if you haven't read this book series, highly recommend it. It is very adult. It is very adult. There's going to be a lot of R wording and essaying, and there's definitely.
It could be triggering for some people,
Big
so make sure you, if you do get triggered, you can go online and you can read the back of book, and you can read some of the reviews that don't have spoilers, and it'll give you little hints. But if you are triggered, this may be not the book for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very graphic, very adult,
Mhm.
very kind of like real world, sort of medieval time, terrible things happening to people. In this book 5 too, man, there's some terrible stuff that happens to people. That's not essay or R wording. It's just violence, and it's terrible. So, but it's again, it kind of shows you the worst parts of humanity, and just the people's ability to try and overcome that. You know, both the fear and actually to overthrow these people trying to do that. But man, great book series.
Really good.
Mm.
Any other thoughts before we just spoil the heck out of this thing?
We'll do our book review. So we'll go through all 1 through 4 books.
Yep.
There will be spoilers. We're gonna just jump right into it, and then we'll get into book 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Other than that, if you haven't read it, read it. It's a really good book. Then come back and listen to this. Actually, I mean, this shitty book. I can't guarantee this will be great.
Yeah, you're gonna have to read it. We're not gonna do a good job of reviewing it.
But if you do read
okay.
it, then you can come back and listen and be like, "Wow, they really did a terrible job." So you can laugh at us.
You could.
So maybe don't read it.
Yeah.
Or read it and come back and make fun of us. You can heckle us, and we will not read your review.
I will delete
Don't
your
wreck all
comments. Yeah, if you write terrible if you write funny comments, I'll read them. That's funny.
We'll even upvote them. We'll even in the future, if you give a hilarious insult to us, if you heckle us well, we'll print it on a t-shirt and we'll put it in our merch shop. The best heckles, they're going on t-shirts. I will wear them.
That is incorrect. That is incorrect.
I'll totally do
that. Us three have an agreement. If we ever do merch, we are going to be doing renewable or recycled materials using specific. Actually, I think that's with somebody else that I talked about this. Sorry. So you three are now.
I was going to say, we didn't even
know.
Excuse me, I didn't make this.
I just want to let you guys know.
I didn't agree to this pact.
For merch, there are certain shops that recycle material, and then they make new material out of it. And my thing is I don't like when people just make merch and just make a crap ton of it, and it's just like fast fashion. So I think if we ever do merch, we just partner with somebody that does do kind of recycled fabric, so it'll be a little more expensive, but it's not it's not going to kill our planet even faster. So that's my thought.
I'm on board with that.
Yeah, you know what? Go ahead, state your opinions right here on the podcast so that the world can judge you. Danielle's good, Victoria.
So 6 months of comments. We will then put up a poll with all of the best from every single episode, all of the best heckles that we get. And whoever votes, whichever heckle is voted by everyone to be the best, will go on a t-shirt.
A recycled t-shirt?
A recycled t-shirt.
A recyced t-shirt.
Okay.
That's
I'm good
all
with
he
that.
wanted.
Every 6
wanted
months.
I just wanted you to say recycled t-shirt.
No, this whole thing. All I needed was one dang word. I'll start everything with that. So anyway, my recycled coffee mug. He's like, good.
Got to get Frankie
and I was
saying
using
yes
some recycled
first.
Kleenex. I recycle my Kleenex. I use them. I wash them.
That's disgusting.
No.
No, it's not disgusting, Frank. That's called saving the planet. So
Just
you're
go
welcome.
back. Just go back to handkerchiefs so you can wash them.
Just wipe it. Wipe your.
Yep.
Pick your nose and wipe it on your pants, dude.
Okay.
That's so gross.
Yeah, it is.
I
It's
broke
disgusting.
up with a kid when I was
Okay.
in fourth grade because
Picking
he
his
was
nose?
picking his nose too much.
Yeah. Okay.
I just
Too
don't
much.
like it.
There was a limit. It was like, you
Yeah,
know what? You
yeah.
crossed that line.
When you're when you're when you're a kid, you see everyone pick their nose, and you're like, no.
Mm.
But if their fingers pretty much just anchored up there, you're done. This isn't gonna work out. We
Yeah.
obviously have different goals. I see
I thought
myself
there
with
was a
someone who
limit.
doesn't have their finger up their nose all the time. Well, I get it. If you're not even just a kid, if you're a person and you're out, there's nothing you could do. I get it. But if you're doing it, yeah, there is a limit.
Okay.
Look,
I'm
the thing is
I'm
like just do
easygoing.
it. Do it in private. Like, look, we all at some point are going to pick our nose because like sometimes you know like there's just something that you can't get out with a tissue or something. Like it
I
happens.
use Q-tips.
Yeah, like there's different ways that we go about it, but it's just like at least have the decency to do it in private, man.
And
'cause
then
it's
wash your
nasty.
hands.
Yeah, exactly. And wash your hands because you'll get
Yeah.
like our mom always told us, man, you'll get staph. You'll get staph infection from picking your nose. I don't know if that's true, but that's what she told us.
I don't know either. Can we change the topic?
Yeah, this is gross. Let's get
Yeah,
on
please.
to the shitty book report. So, the last thing I'll say before we get on to the spoilers, though, is that if you haven't read it, one last selling message is that this, and to kind of summarize the series, basically this series is about these demons that rise up in the night and are attacking humans. And the humans only have these defensive wards to kind of protect themselves from these demons. But long ago, there used to be these fighting wards that they could actually attack back. And so this book is about three people's, there's more than three, but three main characters. Actually, gosh, I don't even know. I guess there's probably about
you say that?
17 main characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's literally, it ends up becoming like 17 main characters' journeys or journeys to looking for these ancient words and then figuring out how to fight back against these demons. It's a great series. Read it up. And with that, let's get into the spoilers.
Yes. So we're starting with book one.
Book number
Book
one,
one.
The Warded Man. Do you guys want me to go through this, or do you guys want to do it? What do you want?
Don't read off your page because we don't all have all of that. You got to go
How
off
about
memory. You
how
can't
about
read
we
your stuff.
how about we go by who was assigned it? So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah, go ahead, Frank.
Oh, that's gonna be bad then.
I know exactly. Mine too.
So, okay, so
You want to know what the first 4 chapters are about?
well, we can guess. Look, we'll fill it in. We'll fill it in.
I don't. We'll have to help each other because mine.
This
I
must
didn't
have
even.
happened.
I don't even remember how book 3 ends. So
It's all right. Well,
it's gonna
we'll
be fun.
figure it out. We'll figure it out. Okay, so The Warded Man. So the very first book. Okay, so this book opens, and it opens with Arlen. Arlen is kind of like the main character in this book because he's introduced first and he's shown throughout. There's other main characters that come along, but it's like he's the first one, I'll say. So Arlen is an 11-year-old boy. He's on a farm, and then he hears horns in the distance, and that signals danger. So all of a sudden the tension rises, and you're like, oh, what's going on? Well, him and his dad pick up their chores quickly, and then they have to head into town to figure out where these, or they head towards those horn sounds to help, because that's what they're signaling with the horns is, hey, that something happened, we need your help. So they head towards the horn sounds, and then they see smoke rising, and they realize that, yep, of course, the demons attack. And that's when you learn about these demons, what they call corelings, and they rise up from the core at night. So Arlen lives in this small village. It's been attacked by demons. They have to burn their dead. Well, Arlen then meets a messenger. Messengers are people that travel along the roads and deliver news to the small towns and collect taxes and stuff for the dukes or the kings, if there are kings and queens, whatever, the ruling class of these different cities. So messengers are kind of the bravest people. Well, Reagan, this messenger, is the one that kind of inspires Arlen about the old wards and about fighting demons and becoming a messenger, because Arlen's tired of just kind of being so defensive, especially when his uncle, who survived that first quarterly attack, takes his own life because of the trauma that he saw when these demons attack. These demons, there are flame demons, rock demons, all different types, wind demons, stone demons. There's so many, but they're just brutal. So they come at night and they're just wreak havoc on people. And the only thing that protects them is these things called wards. And wards are symbols that they draw on things that kind of form an energy barrier to stop demons from attacking. What Arlen also learns from Reagan is that there are these old wards that they used to have back in the time of the Deliverer that they could use to attack demons, and those have been long forgotten. So Arlen kind of gets inspired by all of this. Well, then he also hears this from this Jongolier, Kieran, who tells the tale of Kaji, the first Deliverer, who had these old wards, but then they were lost to time. So Arlen hears all of this, and then after that Jongolier show, which is kind of like a jester, they go back home to his farm. Well, as they're going back home, it's night. Actually, it's I think the next day or something, and it's at night. His dad comes back, but it's almost night, I should say. And then there's a demon attack at his farm, and his mom ends up getting brutally attacked. So Arlen and his dad rush off to try and save her, but Arlen's dad didn't try to help his mom at all, but Arlen did. So they kind of now have this huge.
It's a pivotal moment in the book because Arlen expects his dad, right, the person that's been taking care of them their whole lives, to come out and save his mom, and he doesn't. He's too scared to leave the porch that's warded. Arlen sees that and makes the decision to try and save his mom himself. So it's a very pivotal and a growth moment in the book.
Which I believe was inspired by Arlen talking to Reagan and hearing the story of the Deliverer from Kieran as well, that jester that follows Reagan around. So this makes a rift between Arlen and his dad. And when they are on the road and his mom actually ends up dying because his dad didn't, it's not really because his dad didn't want to go on further, but it's another point of contention with Arlen, is that his dad turns around because he doesn't think they can make the next farm in time. So they go back to a different farm and his mom ends up dying. So at that point, Arlen, he just runs off, and he's going to go and find Reagan and become a messenger because he wants to figure out what these old wards are, and he wants to start fighting these demons that have taken everything from him, basically, is what he feels like. So then Arlen does end up on the road by himself, and he ends up actually fighting. He knows wards fairly well, actually. He protects himself the first night, but I think the second night, a rock demon comes up, and Arlen, who had the first night kind of stopped all these demons from attacking him, gets a little too smug about it and is taunting the rock demon. Then he mars one of his wards on accident when he's taunting the rock demon, and so it's able to actually come inside. So the rock demon starts to come inside of that energy barrier because it's now down, and then Arlen fixes the ward, basically draws it again when the rock demon's half inside almost, and it takes off the rock demon's arm. So this is how One Arm is born, which becomes kind of a pivotal character throughout book one. And this rock demon then follows Arlen every night and tries to attack him because he's so mad that he was able to be basically attacked by this human.
Arlen finds it's another pivotal moment for Arlen because he realizes he might be able to fight back against these demons.
Exactly.
Yes, and something you missed at the farm. It's the first time you meet Rena, who will become a big character in later books.
Yep, and Rena is
not at Arlen's farm. The farm that Arlen and his dad travel to and stop at. That guy's name is Harlow.
Harl. Yeah, like Carl.
And Harl he has daughters, and because of the towns and how small they are, they try to marry them off when the kids are quite young, so they'll promise them to each other. Mm-hmm. And Harl's immediately trying to do that with his daughter Rena to Arlen because they're similar ages, and so
and they do that.
Promised.
Yep. Yeah. So Harl and Arlen's dad Jeff basically agreed that those two will get married to each other.
And that's another reason why
Arlen
Arlen decides
runs
to
off.
run off because he's becoming scared that uh, everyone's making all these decisions for them, and he doesn't agree with them because his mom's
Yeah.
just died, and obviously he doesn't agree with that, and
Yeah.
so he's not taking the adults' decisions that they're making very seriously anymore because he's like, you guys are doing the wrong things. You're not focusing on the right things.
Well, he's
And so
just
that's another reason he
disgust.
runs off.
Yeah, he's disgusted with the way they've lived, right? And
Yep.
the way they're not
Yeah.
pushing back, and they're not. So,
Yep.
go ahead, Frank.
And also one of Harl's daughters, uh, Arlen is sort of listening because he is becoming promised, or he's been told by Rena that they've been promised, and he doesn't believe them. So Arlen kind of sneaks in and hears one of the daughters when Harl is away. One of Harl's daughters is just after Arlen's mom has died. She is
No,
trying
actually, she's
to
not dead yet.
or no, she's not dead, but she's pretty close to dead.
Yep.
And so his mother's injured, incredibly, fatally wounded,
Yep.
and Arlen overhears his Harl's daughter hitting on his dad, saying that when the wife is gone, she'll move in and become the mom.
Yeah.
Arlen's just, he's having a huge pivotal moment where just everything seems wrong with
He's going.
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
around him. And
WTF.
he just runs off. Like, that's his. And his dad thinks that he'll come back. That was another thing. He has a bit of an ego about it. That's another reason he doesn't run back, is because he's like, there's no going back, and I'm not going to be a person who ever goes back.
Yeah.
And so he kind of has to prove it. So then he's out. The rock demon happens. He's trying to find Reagan. Keep going.
Yeah, so basically he takes that arm off the rock demon. That's how one arm's born. He spends a couple more nights on the road, but then finally Reagan and Kieran do end up finding him. They were staying at a little an old ruin that Reagan stays at, and they find the boy on the road, and then Reagan was going to take him back to his dad, but then Arlen basically convinces him, like, dude, I'm not going back. Like, I'll just run away again. So Reagan does take him on, takes him with him, and they travel to Milne. That's where Reagan is from. From there, I believe actually we switch stories now to Leisha. That's when we start learning about Leisha Paper. So Leisha is a young girl that lives in a different village. She lives in Cutter's Hollow. Leisha is a very beautiful woman, considered, I believe, the most beautiful woman in the town. I believe that when they first go to her story, though, she's still underage, probably around, 15 or something, 14 maybe. So she's not considered that yet, but they can tell that she's beautiful. And also her mom is considered one of the most beautiful women in the town. So Leisha is basically... she's promised to this guy named Garrett Cutter, and Garrett Cutter is this humongous kid. His dad, Steve Cutter, is basically they cut down trees, which is why they're called cutters. Garrett's going to do the same thing, and that's how Leisha's story starts. And everything revolves around Leisha basically growing up to marry Garrett and then have babies and basically become a mom and just kind of just live in this village. That's her entire life. Well, the big change that happens is that at one point, Steve and Garrett stay over at Leisha's house, and the first thing that happens is that you hear Ilona and Steve. Basically, Ilona and Steve have been flirting the entire night, and then and Ilona
is Leisha's mom.
Is Leisha's mom, and her dad is Ernie. Well, Alona just openly flirts with Steve, and basically they end up hooking up, and Ernie knows about it, but Leisha's basically completely mortified. Well, also what happens that night is Garrett comes into where Alicia's staying, because they're staying in separate rooms because they are promised to one another, but they're not together yet. They're not married yet. And they don't do anything. They're just, being young kids, and they're just like kissing or whatever. But then the next day, Garrett goes to all his friends, and they're all basically goading him, saying like, "Hey, we heard you stayed over there last night. What'd you get up to?" And they're all saying like, they're all trying to ask like, basically, did you two hook up? And Garrett ends up telling all his friends that they did. And so then this gets back to Leisha, and she's kind of looked at as kind of like I guess a tramp, or what you dig your garden
harlot.
with, or a hoe. And this pisses off Leisha, and so she basically goes to Garrett, tells him to renounce his claim. I believe she even kicked him between the legs, and Garrett won't do it though, because he says it'll be embarrassing to go back on his word and lie to all his friends. Leisha at that point is super pissed off. Then I believe there is an attack on their town, and some people need healing. And so there's this old woman named Bruna, who's called a gatherer, and a gatherer is they're only women, and they know of what they call the old science of healing people. And they know a couple other tricks that you learn later. But it's like old science. And Bruna requests Leisha's help because she sees that Leisha's kind of become an outcast, because even her mom, Ilona, wants Leisha to still marry Garrett and doesn't believe it's a big deal. Nobody's on Leisha's side, but Bruna kind of asks for Leisha's help with this specific attack. Bruna has this apprentice named Darcy. Darcy is, they kind of describe her as an oaf of a woman that doesn't have kind of the dexterity to be a good gatherer and can't remember things that well. So Leisha, though, shows an aptitude for this kind of stuff and starts learning very quickly, even in that one day, as much as even Darcy knows, who's been studying with Bruna for a while. So that's when Bruna wants to take Leisha under her wing and make her apprentice, and make Darcy just basically send Darcy away and not be her apprentice anymore. So Bruna kind of this she kind of says it how it is to everybody. She runs the town.
Cantankerous. That's the best word for her. She's a cantankerous old woman.
Yeah, but she does have a lot of love for people as well.
And she's extremely old. She's like over 100, well over. Like she's everyone says they do not know how she's alive.
Yep. Yeah, she's like the grandma of your family that knows where all the bodies are buried, and she will tell everyone.
Yep.
She will.
Yeah, she doesn't
lay your shit bare.
She leverages her power is leveraging the fact that she has been in that town and taken care of she's birthed everyone in that town. They say that like she has been around that long. So she knows all the dirt about everyone.
Yep. Complete badass, honestly. But she doesn't use this information in a negative way. It's just when people start to act like they're going to disown people, throw people out, that's when she comes in and says, hey, you forgot what you did. You were scandalous at one point too, right? Where people have been cheating on their spouses and having babies with other people.
Oh, she's justice. That's what she is. Yep. She wields a sword of justice, the sword being the information, and she puts people right in their place.
Absolutely. So Bruna does take Leisha under her wing and makes her apprentice, and she does this in an epic fashion where there's a big meeting of people, and Bruna shows up with Leisha, basically takes Garrett down with, I believe, even blinding powder, and Garrett's writhing on the floor, and Bruna's like, I think even smacking him with her little stick that she carries around to kind of rap at people when they're being stupid, and forces Garrett to basically renounce that him and Leisha ever hooked up, which he does
in front of everyone,
in front of the entire town, and then says, I'm taking Leisha as my apprentice, which obviously Ilona, Leisha's mom, is pissed about, and even Leisha was going to take on the business of Ernie, who makes paper. Ernie seems a little upset, but when they talk later, he's happy for his daughter, knows that she's bigger than just making paper. So this is Leisha now becoming a gatherer. She's learning from Bruna, and they have
It'll take 7 years.
Yep, and they have a mother-daughter relationship that's kind of beautiful to watch grow, because you get to see the softer side of Bruna, who really does care for the people of the town, And Leisha follows her around and sees that she does wield all this power, knows all this information, and she only uses it when people start to act like they're better than other people and start being condescending and wanting to throw people out or whatnot. From there, Leisha is then sent to actually train with another gatherer named Giselle in Angiers, because there is some problems up in Angiers that Giselle isn't able to solve, but Giselle knows Bruna can. But since Bruna has been teaching Leisha, Leisha can now solve these problems. And Bruna even quizzes Leisha before she leaves. So they decide to trade apprentices, Giselle and Bruna. So this lady named Vika comes to where Bruna's at, and Leisha goes up to Angiers with Giselle. From there, we switch to another story of this guy named Roger. Now, Roger is his story is tragic. He is a young infant, 4 or 5 years old, I believe, and there's a messenger named Arik and a no, sorry, not named Arik. That is the Jungleer. There's a messenger, I forget his name, and his Jungleer Arik, who come to Roger's town, which I forgot where it is. It's some small village, and they might be called River Bridge or something. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
The bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what happens that very night when those two people come that are at his house is there's a demon attack. They break through the wards. Well, Roger's father and the messenger are kind of fighting off the demons, and then they yell to the mom and to Arik, the Jungleer, to run. And the messenger tells his Jungleer, "Hey, save the mom." And he throws him, I believe, a shield or a weapon. And when he throws that to him, the Jungleer doesn't actually save the mom. He pushes her down, and this mom is holding Roger. And then the Jungleer just runs. So the mom then gets up
because he knows that there's a safe inside this Roger's mom and dad in their tavern that they have. There's a safe which you can basically, it's like a safe room.
Cellar.
You can jump into it. Yeah, and it's all warded, and even if the place burns down around them, this is the way in all of these villages, all of them have cellars that inside their homes. So even if the demons get in, they can't get into the cellar. So Eric is supposed to take the mom and Roger into that cellar, and Eric, sweet song, pushes her down to run past her to get into the cellar. Yep. He is a complete coward and only cares about himself.
Yep.
Jerk.
And so then Roger's mom gets up with him, starts running towards the cellar, but then a flame demon jumps on her back and starts attacking her. I believe she actually takes out the first one by like drowning it in a wash basin, but then another one attacks her. And the last thing she does is she reaches the cellar, and Eric's trying to close it, is she throws Roger down with him and sacrifices herself to save Roger. When she was doing this in the act of it, when she was handing Roger to Eric, I believe, to take with him, a flame demon bit into the mom and Roger's hand, taking 3 of his fingers, so he only has 2 left on one of his hands. This is how he ends up getting the name Roger Half-Grip. Well, Roger and Eric basically stay in that cellar. The messenger, the dad, the mom, they all die from the demon attack. And when they wake up the next day, actually the entire village is dead. Those are the only 2 that survived the entire demon attack. Arik ends up taking Roger back to he goes to Angiers as well.
I think it's
he's
Angiers.
In Angiers. He is. He does not go to Milne where because then he would be where Arlen's at. So Roger's in Angiers with Arik, and Roger actually doesn't remember any of this, and he's just growing up with Arik and learning to become a Jungleer and learning how to sing and dance.
But he did take when I think it was when the demon bit, Roger had been holding on to his mom, and he had a piece of her hair, and so he still had that, and he saves it. So he does have some sort of memory of his mother, of those last moments. It's kind of imprinted on him, this like really awful thing that happened, but he knew that she loved him.
Yep.
So
Yep. And he makes a
so
talisman
he
out of
keeps
that as well.
yeah, so he keeps it with him. So he does
Yep.
remember his mother very fondly.
Yep. Absolutely.
But Eric becomes like his dad.
Yep.
So
Yep. And Eric kind of has a troubling history. He takes to drink and just becomes a drunk, and slowly he goes from being basically the greatest jongleur in Angiers, being what they call the herald to the Duke of Angiers himself, to just
because his
becoming
voice was the best voice anyone had ever heard. That's why he
yeah.
was called Eric Sweet Song. He had
Yep.
the most gorgeous voice
Yep.
that anybody had heard, at least
Yep.
around these parts.
Yep. And
But I think he feels some sort of guilt or something, but he's pushed it way down. But yeah, he totally went on a downward slide, drinking and yeah.
Yep. But Roger still has love for him and everything. And even when they're out on the road one time, Eric finds his Roger's talisman with his mom's locket of hair and ends up throwing it in the fire and burning it, which obviously pisses off Roger. And then what ends up happening, though, is that Roger leaves the wards because he's pissed off, and he gets attacked by demons, and Auric actually comes to save Roger's life because he does care for him, and he does feel like he was a coward all those years ago, and he kind of changes his history almost. I mean, he's not changing his history, but he acts now when he knew he should have acted before. And he saves Roger's life, but ends up dying in the process. And I believe even Roger and Auric had at some point, Roger had acknowledged, because he had remembered all of a sudden that Auric had not sacrificed himself for his mom, and they actually bring that up and everything with each other. And then Eric ends up saving his life and dying for Roger. Well, then Roger's in Angiers, and he's kind of doing his own thing without his jongleur. But he knows that he can't do that forever because he's not actually licensed yet. And so then he gets this old man, Jacob, to become his jongleur, or become his kind of master. Him and Jacob are actually making a lot of money because Roger has, what he learned how to play the fiddle. And Roger has this kind of magic with the fiddle where you can play this amazing music. Well, he starts to drive in bigger crowds than Auric did in his final days, because there's something different about it. It's like a savant almost when he picks it up. He just has this gift with it that nobody else has. So him and Jacob start to make a lot of money, but then there's this guy named.
They're noticed by other jongleurs.
Yeah.
And it's very competitive.
Yep.
Right? You can imagine there's not a lot of ways to make money as a jongleur, and when someone starts pulling a crowd that is normally your crowd, it becomes very competitive.
Yeah. It's like buskers on the street, They're gonna have fights if you're sort of taking over a territory. Yeah. They have specific spots.
Absolutely. So they are regularly kind of getting a little bullied by this guy named Jason. All right, so we're already 48 minutes in, so I'm going to just summarize it even quicker. Okay, so
I'm gonna be here for like 5 hours.
Yeah. I know, we were just talking about that.
So basically Roger ends up getting beat up by this other jongleur, and Jacob gets killed, and that's when Roger ends up in the it's basically a hospital, but it's the Gatherer Giselle's hospital. I think they call it a hospit. So he ends up in there, and that's when he meets Leisha. So that's when Leisha and Roger get connected. Leisha ends up hearing news about the Cutter's Hollow basically being run down by a plague. I forget what they call it, but it's kind of like a cold running through the town. So Leisha wants to get back. Well, Roger says that he'll take her there. So Leisha and Roger head out on the road. Unfortunately, along the way, They are attacked by bandits, and that's when Leisha, this is the triggering moment, she gets R-worded by these bandits. And Leisha and Roger are just kind of on the road, and it's becoming night. They're scared. I missed a big part. So now I'm going to flip what's been going on with Arlen. Arlen he's in Milne with Reagan and Alyssa. Reagan and Alyssa become like second parents to him that raise him. Arlen learns warding, learns how to become a messenger. When he gets old enough, he decides to leave and go out on his own, and it's kind of marked because this woman that he kind of they've fallen for each other, doesn't want Arlen to be a messenger, so he says, you know what, I can't be tied down, I have to be a messenger. So he decides to leaves a note for Reagan and Alyssa. Arlen goes out, and he had heard about these creations. The creations are the people that fight the demons, where nobody else does. Arlen goes to find these creations. When he finds them, he asks to fight with them.
Okay, wait, Frank. Wait. So you are covering a lot, but you're like talking faster. I don't know. It's like you're on, like, we've sped up the audio. Sorry, I don't know. Do if that's what you want. I don't know. Keep going. I'm just like, it just sounds like you're on hyper mode.
Arlen. Okay, so Arlen, he goes to these creations. He befriends this what's called a Kafit, which is a merchant named Aben, who leads him to the fighters in Krasia. This is where Arlen meets Jardir, and he asks to fight with the Krasians in their nightly battle against the demons. They are like, this is the first Northerner that's ever tried this, so they accept Arlen. Arlen fights with them, becomes basically, they consider him not exactly one of their fighters, but a very high honor for a Northerner.
They call him Parchin because they give him a specific title that basically no other Chin, which means to them foreigner. No other Chin has been given the title Parchin, meaning as close to us while still being a foreigner. So he is given that honor.
Arlen keeps visiting Krasia over the years and becoming a better and better messenger. Well, one day he actually ends up with Aban finding the lost map to Anaksun. Now, Anaksun is where the first deliverer, Kaji, lays. Arlen goes to it's an ancient city, but it's the tomb of Kaji, and finds the spear of the deliverer. He goes back to Krasia because this is their direct ancestry. I mean, they all are, but Krasians are still living kind of the closest lifestyle to it. And he says, hey, I have the spear of the deliverer. I want to fight with you guys. They go into the battle of demons that night with Jardir and all his men, who's trying to become the leader of Krasia. And Arlen, with this warded spear, is just killing demons left and right. And all the men start rallying behind Arlen. And this is when Jardir makes his plan to basically betray Arlen. And so after that first night, Jardir acts like they need to go and fight these other demons that are taking over this group. Well, it's actually a trap for Arlen. Steals the spear, but he has become so close to Arlen that he doesn't kill him, even though he has been told to kill him. And he doesn't. He just leaves him out in the desert to die. Arlen, not wanting to die and having nothing to eat, he ends up tattooing his body with the wards that he saw in the spear and in Kaji's tomb, because he copied them all in his notebook, because he's a messenger and that's what they do. They have the notebook to carry notes. So he copies all these and he starts writing it on his skin because he has no weapons. And he kills these demons, and since he has no food, he starts eating the demon meat. Well, this makes Arlen super strong, and this is how he becomes the warded man. So Arlen then covers his entire body in tattoos and starts going around basically just killing demons all the time and staying away from society. Now, Leisha and Roger had just been attacked by bandits, and at night is coming, and then the warded man comes and saves them. So Leisha and Roger are introduced to Arlen. Leisha and Arlen end up becoming a little closer, becoming intimate. You think that they're going to get together, but then a demon attacks and kind of ruins the moment. And that's when Arlen says, "I'm never going to be with anybody again." So they end up making it to Cutter's Hollow, and this is the first big fight of the book because there is going to be a big attack on, or there's actually not. There's going to be a regular attack on the Cutter's Hollow, but Arlen, knowing these wards to fight demons, he now finally wants to share them with people and say, "Let's make a stand tonight." So they make a stand against the demons. A lot of people are definitely killed, but they kill a lot of demons, and they make the first kind of great stand in human history against them. Besides that first night in with the spear in Krasia. The book ends though with the desert with the desert people, the Krasians, going to Anaxan and opening the tomb of Kaji. So that's how it ends, because the next book is called The Desert Spear.
That's right. Okay, so the second book, The Desert Spear, opens up, and we're in the point of view of demons, which is unusual. We've never had this happen. There are these two prince demons that you discover, and they are smaller, and it's like more brain power. They're smaller, they have these huge heads, they have these huge eyes, but they're weaker physically. They don't look like these huge hulking masses. And with them are these other types of demons called mimics. So mimics are controlled by these mind demons, these smaller, more powerful, they call them princelings, like they're high up in the hierarchy of demons. So we're discovering tons right now about how demon life works. So the mimics are huge, though. They're these really big, like 9-foot tall creatures, and the mind demons control them. The mimics can mimic any creature. The first creature we see it mimic is, I believe, like a rat. And then they can transform based on the mimics, because the mimics are telepathic. They speak to each other just like pulses of their head, and that's how they speak to all demons. They have these mimics turn into the, what are they called?
The wind
air
demons.
Wind demons. Yeah, it's all elemental. Anyway, they turn into wind demons and they fly around, whatever, and they go to what's that town called? Jardir is, we are discovering that Jardir is attacking, or he's
preparing to attack.
No, he has a camp. Jardir has a camp.
Yep.
Out in the middle of wherever, and these princelings go to watch it, and they can control. We're now discovering that this entire time, demons are just like, they have a natural, instinctual urge to destroy things, to destroy humans, to destroy buildings, to destroy everything.
Well, it's
animals
to eat,
too.
right? Yeah,
They just eat, and I think they have egos because they can get like upset at things. They just want to destroy, and if they're blocked from destroying, whatever. So we're discovering that these mind demons can control all the demons to be not just instinctual. They can be like strategic and fight, and like actually fight well together and everything. And they go to this little camp.
With the mind demons, it's like going from checkers to chess, right? It goes from, yeah. They
it's not
level
even
the
checkers
game
to
up.
chess. It's like going from playing tag.
From playing
blades.
No, from playing peekaboo.
Yeah.
To playing chess, and so it's basically terrifying. And they they go to this little camp, and the mind demons have the other demons that are in the vicinity, because any demon in the vicinity of where a mind demon shows up, they will gather toward the mind demon, and then the mind demon can control them. And they go to this little camp. We don't know where they are right now, and they have them attack it, and you kind of get this vibe that they're just testing. And we then discover that this is Jardir's camp, and so he has the spear of Kaji. He's being totally followed by the Krasians as the deliverer, which is an old story in their history about this man, this great man Kaji, who taught everybody how to fight against the demons. Now they think Jardir is him reborn. He's the deliverer. He's going to save everybody. These mind demons attack the camp, and when Jardir comes out, he rallies his people against them after quite a bit of devastation, and then you get the sense that the mind demons are just kind of testing to see what this new power is. They've rediscovered some power. Mind demons aren't happy with it. They don't want the humans to be strong. So then one of the other mind demons leaves, and he goes toward the north where Arlen is, because he's going to see who this other person is that's obviously got some sort of power that humans have not had in thousands of years. So then we move on to, we skip to Jardir's story, and it's when he's young. So we're discovering how he was brought up, and we discover a ton about Cajun lifestyle. Basically, every male who gets to a certain age, I think it's around like 11, same as kind of in Arlen's story, but every boy that is 11, they're tested. So they're brought into this warrior class because their biggest in Krasia, their biggest idea is to fight the demons. They want to be like Kaji. They want to fight them. But of course, they're dying because they don't have any of the old wards, the fighting wards that Arlen was also looking for. So this is where we discovered Jardir, and on the same day, Aban. They both were taken at the same time to go to be tested to see if they were fighters, to basically be put in like a sorting system. It's like Hogwarts, where they're going to discover if they're warrior class, if they can stand that. They can also become Dama, which is like
priests.
Yeah, like priests, and then
and learners,
learner, people have knowledge, whatever. And then they can also just be Kafit. So anybody can
Which
be
are
Kafit.
merchants.
Yeah, merchants, all the merchant, every other job that needs to be done, that's called Kafit. The warriors are considered the best. We discover them. They go into the warrior school. They're being tested. It's absolutely brutal. You discover that there's a lot of terrible things that even the boys do to each other. The boys age in this testing phase. The boys' ages range from like 11 to 16, depending on how well they do. You can rise up through these ranks quicker or not. It just depends on how good you do. But they're called Nai Sharam. So the whole goal is to become Sharam. They want to have that title, and that means you are warrior class. You get tons of food, you get tons of benefits for being warrior class. And then we see all the struggles that Jardir goes through. Jardir and Aban, they decide to stick together, and they're going to survive this together. They're going to help each other if anything happens. And of course, some crap goes down. We also meet Hasik right now. He's an older boy than Jardir and Aban, and he's extremely sadistic. He will rape boys. He does this. And a lot of boys will even trade their bodies to just be warmer because, like I said, it's a brutal Nisharam live a brutal existence. They have hardly any food. They have to fight to be in the line to get food because they purposefully don't make enough food for all the boys, so they have to fight each other. It's an awful existence. So they're Nisharam right now. Hasik is much bigger than Jardir, but Jardir wants to bring glory to his family. So then we see Jardir gets his arm broken by Hasik. Aban takes him to the Damating Palace. Now we discover females have some sort of, they control foretelling. So they see the future. They use future telling devices called dice. And we also discover they heal. They're the healers of which you need because Krasia is the only place where they actively fight demons. So a lot of warriors are getting hurt every day. These Damating, they are above Sharam in every way. This is the only job you can have as a woman in Krasia and actually have some power. The when Jardir is taken by Aban and dropped off at the Damating Palace, they set his arm, heal it. This is where we discover a young girl called Inevra. She is a nigh Domiting. So she's in training as just like Jardir is, although she still has a higher class than him. And she speaks to him a little bit. He considers her super beautiful. That's all we know now. Then Jardir is sent back. He gains some influence because he fights to get back into the line, and he gets an even higher place. And I think he breaks Shanjat's leg or arm then too. He breaks some bone of his. And he's kind of, Jardir this whole time is kind of taking Aban along with him. Aban does not agree with this lifestyle. He thinks it's incredibly brutal. He's been raised in the bazaar being a merchant. He's really good at selling. He has a great mind for it. And he thinks Jardir, he is friends with Jardir, but he thinks that Jardir's desire to be a Sharam is silly because it's a violent lifestyle. He thinks it's stupid, but he's kind of being brought along with Jardir and protected by Jardir. So, because they've made this promise to each other. So, Hasik leaves so they don't have to deal with that. Then they're given this opportunity to go and go to a town that has been razed by demons, like it's been wrecked. And Aban, this is where we see like a big split between Jardir and Aban, because Aban he's a seller. He has a seller's mind, and he's always looking for profit. And they're going to a potter's town, and so when they get there, they discover that this potter is dead, and um, all these priceless works of art are there for the taking. And Aban sort of secrets away some of these pots to bring back because he wants to get money for his mom, who is Kafit, their Kafit class. So they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of money unless they're thinking profitably. Jardir doesn't like this, and he tells Aban as much. He lets him take the pots, but you see a big rift coming between Jardir and Aban. Now, Aban, when he's kind of been loved by his family. He's overweight because of it. They fed him a lot. But he gains tons of muscle through all this training. They finally get to the maze top runner walls, and that's the last step before Nisharam can become Dalsharam. And Hasik is now Dalsharam, and the whole gain is trying to get to Sharam class. So the last step is running on the maze walls and calling out to the other the people in the maze, the Sharam. What's going down? Aban falls off one of the walls though, and Jardir cannot catch him, and his legs are broken, both of them, on the fall down. Another boy is there, and he laughs at Aban for having fallen. This is how brutal this lifestyle is. And then he freaking gets pushed off as well. And I think that boy, he's like totally unconscious. Anyway, Aban is then taken over from Jardir. He's taken to the Domiting palace. Aban's legs cannot heal. They heal enough so he can walk. He can't run. He can't jump. He has a pronounced limp. And basically, you're kind of getting the idea that Jardir is not going to make it in this warrior class. Like he's probably just going to be Kafit. And so everyone looks down on him. And Jardir is still thinking about that Nai Domiting in Evra that he saw before. And
Did you mean
then I think
Aban? You said Jardir wasn't going to make it in the warrior class. Did you mean Aban?
No, yeah, Aban. We're discovering that Aban is not going to make it.
Yeah.
We think he won't.
Volume a little bit?
We skip back. Jardir has now taken over. I forget what place he took over. They're on a war path though. Jardir, we skip back to current times. Jardir has all of Krasia rallying behind him. He is considering himself the deliverer. Everyone else is considering him the deliverer too. And so what they need to do is take over all of the Northland, all the other towns. He needs to be the lord and master over all of them. And so he is now on a war path to take over every town. They do take one of the towns, and this is when you discover that he basically just says take over the towns, and his men rape and pillage. The men from Krasia, of course, completely brutal. Their whole plan is to mate with all of the women to create more Krasians. And so there's a every time Jardir goes to a new town, there's basically the plan that he's going to take over the town, he's going to control the resources, he's going to uh, his marry off. Everyone's getting married to, and not just married. They're just trying to create babies to create more Krasians. So there's an indoctrination going on and all of that. I can't. What's the town that he takes over?
Fort Risen.
Yeah, Ryzen. He takes over Fort Ryzen.
Mm-hmm.
And the king does eventually bow to him because Jardir basically says, either you bow to me or I'm going to make you watch as I do awful things to everyone around you. So the king does bow to him, and Jardir takes the throne there, and he plans an attack on Lacton. So we also discover that Aban is still hanging around Jardir because Aban does have the best mind for profit, and he knows tactics and strategy and what you kind of have to do. So Aban is, even though everyone around Jardir wants to kill Aban, he's still being protected by Jardir even now in their adult years. And we discover the last thing that I can remember from this part. Sorry, bad book report, but is when they went into the town, one of the rules of war is that you destroy the food source. And so Aban comes hurrying over to
Yeah.
Jardir. Yeah, comes hurrying over to Jardir because Jardir's men have started to burn the grain silos, and they need all of that for the winter. So they're going to have to hunker down there through the winter, but they've lost a lot of, I think, like 3 or 4 silos already. And um, we discover that they need that to be able to survive through the winter to then attack Lacton once the winter is over, or during the winter. But
the only thing I don't think we talked about that happens in this book is where how Jardir unites all of the tribes, because I believe there's 5 different tribes,
something
5 or
like
6.
that.
There's a lot. No, there's like 12 or 13.
Okay. And
Yeah,
to unite all the tribes, Jardir takes a wife from each tribe and ends up having children with each woman to unite
like
the tribes and become
kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
to try and create more of cohesive, because usually these tribes, even though they fought together in the night, during the daytime they stuck to their own tribes. They were not friends. They
vied for power.
Yep. So I think that was just one thing that we missed.
Yep. Yeah, and Jardir
So
ends up.
Yeah, he does make all of it connect through family. It's basically like a king. He's marrying, like, except for he's just the one person who's marrying everybody.
He marries everybody. Yeah.
But he does rise to power, and he does take over all of Krasia by killing the 2 people at the top, the Andra and the Sharuk. I forget what they're called.
Sharakin.
No, that's the name of their fighting.
Whatever.
Style.
There's so much.
They're basically the main warrior, and the priest that kind of leads the holy guy. So he kills those 2 people and ends up becoming both of those because he becomes the deliverer, and everybody follows in line behind him because he proves himself in the maze. Also, what's happening in this story? Go
ahead. I just remembered one of the terms. Jardir, on this pathway as the deliverer with everyone behind him, this sort of war path he's on, the whole title of it is Shirak Ka. They're saying Shirak Ka is coming, which is this great battle of men against demons. And so everyone's following him under with the
Notion.
idea that they're going to fight Shirak Ka if they can join the entire world underneath Jardir as the deliverer. So that's the big plan.
Yep. And the fighting against the Greenlanders is called Shirok's Sun. So they have to basically win over the Greenlanders with Shirok's Sun and ally everybody together to win Shirok Ka. That's the idea. So what's also happening in this story is that Arlen and Leash and Rozier are having their own kind of battles. What I didn't mention in the previous summary is that Bruna has she ended up dying in that first story because she was so old. And Leisha ends up becoming the head of Cutter's Hollow. Well, Cutter's Hollow starts growing as these attacks start happening because they start taking in refugees. And Leisha is learning from Arlen how to ward better and understanding these fighting wards. So the Cutter's Hollow is the basically it starts its journey to become the strongest place in all of the land because Arlen is there. Now Arlen, if you're from the Warded Man series, he was basically on his own for a very long period of time, just killing demons by himself. Didn't want to be in society. Well, this book he's kind of coming back to society, and he is going back to these towns, and he starts to share these wards with people. During this time, he also comes back and meets Rena. So what happens is we learn the story of Rena in this, and we learn how she grew up. And basically, what the terrible thing is that back on her farm, her dad used to R-word his daughters because his wife had died. His oldest had left with Jeff Bells, Arlen's dad, and then the middle child ends up getting married off and promised to another guy. So that leaves Rena alone with her dad. At first, he doesn't do anything with her, but then he starts, unfortunately, having intimate relations with her, which is disgusting. Rena tries to escape and then is beaten by her dad and then left out in this basically outhouse in the middle of the night as the demons are trying to attack it. So she's super scared. So she doesn't really fight him. Then she ends up having this guy kind of shine on her. Well, her dad ends up beating that guy up, and so he doesn't shine on her anymore. Well, Rena one day gets tired of it, leaves, goes to that guy that shined on her in a different town, and he says basically, get out of here. I don't want to basically piss off your dad. Well, then her dad shows up and says, I knew I'd find you two together. He kills that guy, and then he's coming after Rena. Well, Rena kills her dad. Now Rena has a bloody with his own knife, and she has that bloody knife in her hands, and the town catches her and says, what's going on? Well, Rena has gone basically completely quiet, and she's just so much in shock. So now Rena is about to be sentenced to death by the town because they think that she basically murdered those two men. Well, Arlen shows up, sees all this is happening, and basically shames the town for what they're doing, and forces them to fight in the night after he saves Rena and shows them the wards and says, if you guys are going to act like leaders, then you need to act like leaders. And this is when Arlen starts to share the wards with people, and then that's when he also takes on Rena as kind of his apprentice. So Rena wants to be like Arlen. She ends up start painting her skin as well, and then she is it in this one where she starts eating demon meat?
No, she starts in the third book.
Okay, so she's not eating demon meat yet, but she's learning from Arlen, and Arlen is obviously much more skilled than her because he has been eating demon meat. So Rena does learn how to become pretty badass, but she's still learning how to control her anger and whatnot. But the crazy thing is that Ren and Arlen start becoming intimate with one another, and they become partners. All the while this is happening, Leisha, like I said, is growing the hollow, and Rozier's with Leisha, and Rozier's expanding his ability to use music to hold demons at bay. And is it in this one that Leisha goes to visit the desert spear Jardir?
At the very end, yep.
No.
At the very end. At the very end.
Yeah, because book 3 starts off. Book 3 starts off.
They have the big battle here at the end of this, I thought.
Book 3 starts off with Anevra hearing what she does not want to hear. What any woman does not want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. But
no.
But that's because they're fighting. So
no,
Leisha does.
Leisha's there.
Yeah, Leisha's there.
Leisha. Going on.
It's because so Jardir hears about Leisha. This is why it's a shitty book report, because all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, this is what happened. Jardir hears about what's happening in Deliverer's Hollow, is what they're calling it, but it's Cutter's Hollow, where they are fighting against the demons, and then the Cutters are becoming stronger because
people are starting to call Arlen, because he's got all the wards on his skin. They're starting to call him the deliverer.
Yep.
So
Obviously, this
now
is
we
a
have
huge
2.
problem because we have 2 deliverers, and as
Yep.
you know,
There can
we got to
only be
have
one.
a big
One
dick
king.
swinging contest between one. Yeah, there can be only one. Dun, 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 dun. So there's a problem for Jardir,
Yep.
because
The Northerners.
he does not want to.
The Northerners think Arlen's the deliverer, and not all Northerners. Obviously, the Dukes don't, because they want to retain their power. But the Northerner
It's all
people
a power struggle.
think Arlen's the deliverer, and the Crasians think that Jardir's the deliverer. Here's your power struggle. So Jardir hears about this Cutter's Hollow, though. He wants to see it for himself, so he takes a small band of men to go in and basically look at it. And he sees them fighting them, and then he joins in the fight with them. And so this is the first meeting between Northerners and Crasians where they're not fighting each other. And this is with Lisha. Jardir instantly shines on Lisha because she's a very beautiful woman. She doesn't have a husband.
She's intelligent.
Yep.
She's helping her people.
Yep.
I mean, she's looked upon for making decisions for the Hollow.
She's the leader. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, she's a strong woman who, like Enevra, is very strong, right? So Jardir likes that. He's attracted to those strong women.
He likes those strong ladies.
Yep.
He likes to dominate them. He's
And
like,
so he takes.
only
He's
the strongest for me. For my
so he wants to take.
Kachi.
He wants to take Lisha as a wife. And Lisha doesn't say yes, but to prevent him from attacking, she thinks, I will entertain the idea and I will think on it. Let me come back with you to Krasia, and I will basically view your customs and think about your proposal. So this is where Lisha, Rozier, Garrett, and Wanda all come with Lisha back to Krasia. Jardir is obviously smitten with her. Enevra hates this, they call it the Northern.
Enevra is we haven't even said this. Enevra is
No!
Jiwaka, which means his first wife, and the one that is in charge of all other wives. So Jardir has like 12. He has a wife from every tribe that Danielle mentioned. He has kids from all of them, but the top woman, like Jardir's bottom bitch, is Enevra. Mm-hmm. And Enevra is the youngest Damating. She's now in charge of all the Damatings because
she's a Damaja or whatever.
Yeah, Damaja. Yeah, and she's in charge of all these women who they use demon bones to foretell the future. So Jardir has the most powerful woman in Krasia at his beck and call because she's I shouldn't say beck and call.
I wouldn't
she's
say
kind
that.
of in control. Like
she's just right hand.
She's definitely that. And now Jardir's trying to get the northerner lands. Yeah, the northern
most powerful woman.
Most powerful woman in the Greenlands. So yeah, he's got a pretty powerful spear Akashi. Just gonna say. He's got some plans.
Yeah.
But Enevra only ever chose women that she could easily control. Lisha is not a woman that is easily controlled. So already this is a huge problem for Enevra. So yeah.
Yep. But Jardir and no, not yet. So okay, so back now.
And we're just like, what did you look at my face? What am I thinking?
This is
This is terrible.
The worst book report. We're there for 5 hours.
And we're on book 2. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving. So real quick, basically what's happening is Jardir is now the leader of Krasia. He's attacking the Northerners. Arlen is trying to figure out how to help the Northerners, help everybody with these new wards and share it with as many people as possible. And Lisha and Jardir are now kind of meeting together, and so now it's Northerners and Crasians figuring out, can we have peace? All the while, these mind demons are still roaming around. Well, these 2 mind demons, they actually even came up to the surface because of that very first attack that Arlen led with Lisha in Cutter's Hollow, where they stood against the demons and they started killing a bunch of them. That's why these mind demons are here to see, like, wait, these humans, how are they attacking us? They've never been able to do this before. and so that's why they're there. Well, now what ends up happening to end this book out is those mind demons. They're separated. One's going after Jardir. One's going after Arlen. The one that goes after Arlen is attacks Arlen and Rena. They obviously have to battle this thing. It's the first time that Arlen's ever battled a demon like this because he kills all the other demons easily with his hands with the wards on him. But this demon he underestimates, and he tries to have a battle of wills with it. This thing almost basically kills him. Luckily, he has Rena there who helps him. They kill the mimic. They kill the mind demon. And and this was obviously a much tougher test. In Jardir's case, the mind demon starts its attack when Enevra and Lisha are fighting each other. So Enevra goes to kill Lisha and traps her, and this is when the mind demon strikes and takes over control of both their minds. And the only thing that saves them was there was some small second where they lost control because something happened. I forgot what it was. Some small little thing that like basically blocked the connection for a second. And that's when Lisha throws something to Enevra so that way she can break the wards. And Enevra could have killed Lisha because Lisha was still basically immobile. But Enevra breaks the connection with the mind demon, and that's when Jardir enters that room, and then all three of them kill the mind demon and mimic. So that's how book 2 ends. The Desert Spears with Lisha,
but
Jardir.
Lisha and Jardir have been having intimate relations.
Not yet.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
It's the beginning
Whatever,
of the third
who cares?
book.
It doesn't matter. They do at some point.
God.
They're together. It ends with Jardir and Enevra and Lisha killing a mind demon in the new craze. It's called Evran's Bounty.
Both mimics are dead.
Yep.
And now we're wondering what's going to happen because for us, that's all we've known of these stronger, more powerful demons from the core. So we don't know what's going to come next.
Well, in each book, it levels up, right? So it's like, okay, now what?
Oh, and I think we should say, like, the first book, it's kind of just we're finding mostly out about Arlen's uprising, like him.
Arlen and Lisha Rozier.
Arlen, Lisha Rozier. The second book, we're learning about Jardir, Aban, and Enevra. A little bit about Enevra. The third
really
book,
Jardir and Aban.
More of. Wait.
It's Jardir and Aban that we're learning about in the second book.
Yeah,
Enevra's not really. You don't learn about her.
Well, you hear about her, though. You kind of get some inklings.
Barely.
But yeah, you don't really hear about her past. But yeah, so the first book is Arlen, Rozier, Lisha. Second book is Jardir and Aban growing up and becoming who they become. And then we move to the third book.
Yep. This is called The Daylight War. And this is about Enevra. Do you want to do it, Danielle?
Yeah, I thought I was going to.
We're here.
Everybody's telling Kelly's story. Like, what the hell?
I didn't tell her story.
No, so
I gotta be a part of this shitty book report.
Right, because it is gonna be shitty. So book 3 is it follows Enevra's story for the most part. And it starts.
Well, it follows her beginning. So all of these, they follow the beginnings, but they keep up with present day stuff. What's also happening in the real world.
Yeah. So there's lots of shifting from times, right? So you go from to their childhood to them as adults, back and forth, and it just gives you inklings of what made them the people they are and the decisions they make. So this book opens with the prologue is. You see Enevra with her family, and her family is weavers. So they weave baskets.
Kafits.
Yep. So they're Kafits. Her dad was a warrior, but now is just kind of a drag on the family. He's
a warrior. He doesn't actually fight.
He drinks all the time. He uses up their money.
When the fighting comes, he goes to the very back and doesn't. He just hides basically in the maze.
Yeah. So And the goal for this culture is to have more than one wife, because the more wives you have a bigger family, you can make more money. It's like you build your own community. And his wife can't even get anyone else to marry him. So It opens.
His wife is trying to get him more wives.
Exactly, and she
It's
can't do
bad.
it. She can't do it. And so you see Anevra and her brother sitting down. You read about them sitting down
Oh,
with
I
their
forgot
mom,
about that.
helping weave baskets. And the dad comes in and tells the brother that he shouldn't be doing that, that that's women's work. It's beneath him. But you see the camaraderie between the mother and the two children, and their views on their father. And then from there, it jumps to current time, and you learn about Anevra's more of her specialty powers and what she does with the demon bones. And one of those things is she has earrings where they have it's pair. She can always hear what the pair is doing if she turns it a certain way. And she's listening in on Jardir and Leisha having relations, and not happy about it. So you learn she can hear them talking together. This is when she starts to really realize the influence that Leisha has on Jardir and his views, and that she's influencing his changing the culture and viewing women differently, viewing the Kafit differently, viewing that everyone actually has worth and can help in this battle. So Anevra is really worried about it. She doesn't want things to change that drastically, and if they are going to change, she wants to be the hand leading Jardir that way, not Leisha. So she feels very threatened by her, but she also sees Alicia's worth. From there, I don't
We
even
find out about Inevra's past, right?
Yeah, so then you learn about Inevra's past. It switches back to her childhood. So very similar to what Jardir and Aban go through. The women go through the same thing, but it's to become a Damating or not. Inevra is chosen to become a Damating. And the dice tell a future that can happen and several different paths it could take. And the dice do tell that Anevra could be very powerful. And so anyway, she's taken to be trained. It's very brutal as well. Anevra at first decides that she's going to be, very just go with the flow. I'm going to do my best, but not overshadow anyone or not under. She's just trying to be middle of the road, not get noticed. Until eventually she's pretty had enough, and then she really shows her power and kicks ass, and she does become a powerful Damating. Where do we go from
And you
there?
find out in the for women in Croatia, you either when you're a child, you either get taken and you can be trained as the Damating, or you can get married off. That doesn't seem to happen the most. The most likely thing that will happen is
For the
you'll get
majority of
sent
women.
to you'll the majority of women, you'll get sent to where the Dal Sharam and the Sharam, anyone Dal Sharam class or above, they have constant access to this harem of women that all they do is
They're called the
serve
Pillow
men.
Daughters. Yep.
Yeah, they serve men their whole life, like they until they're too old to bear children. So they're constantly kept pregnant, constantly having relations with all different kinds of men, doesn't matter who, they cannot refuse. So Enevra has, when you're seeing her, the choosing process, you're learning that she does not want to be part of this harem. She wishes she could just stay with her mom.
Yeah.
But she gets sent to the Damating Palace. And her fight, similar to Jardir's, it's all from her own gender. It's all women in the Damating Palace, and she's constantly in battle with women, either mentally, physically. She's being attacked by them on all grounds. So when she finally decides not to be middle of the road anymore, then she kicks ass, but she's literally only kicking ass against other women who would not want her to succeed.
And there's two specifically that are her age that are challenging her. I forget what their
Milan
names are.
and
Milan and Asaki. Asaki. I think that's her name. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. She's not that big of a character. So, yes. So, do you guys talk about how she ends up becoming the Damaja?
No, because the book switches back to.
So, okay. So then, do you want to go to the modern times? Is when, so Lisha is still in with Jardir and Krasia. Well, the other cool thing that happens is that Rozier ends up getting 2 wives.
But
and at
before
first you're
that
like,
happens,
don't do it, Rozier.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also following.
I wanted to jog your memory in case you want to talk about it. If you don't, I'll talk about it.
Just calm down. So,
Either go or let me go.
So, also while this is happening, Arlen and Rena are kind of running around the countryside, spreading, because Arlen's goal is to spread the wards and get everyone access to this warding and ward and so that everyone can start fighting. He doesn't want to rule them. He just wants to share the knowledge. And Arlen shows Rena that he can dissipate and move through the currents underground, kind of like the demons do, and then pop up other places. And Rena gets scared that Arlen is going to leave her behind. So she's like, I'm not gonna let that happen. And that is why she starts eating demon meat. She also does it to help heal because they're attacked by demons. And Twilight Dancer is attacked and broken by a powerful mind demon.
Which is a horse, Arlen's horse.
Yep, Arlen's horse. Yep, Arlen's horse that he has just always been with him. He's warded the horse, helps him fight. And so that happens. Arlen overextends himself and heals Twilight Dancer and then passes out, and it scares Rena. So she goes and gets more power from the demon, like Ichor and meat, and then heals Arlen. And that's when she also starts realizing, like, I need to keep up with Arlen if I'm going to stick with him, and that means I need to start ingesting demon meat like he did.
Mm-hmm.
And
by the way, Jardir,
boy, does she.
Jardir doesn't know, by the way, that Arlen is even alive, because he knows who Arlen is the Parchin, but he thinks he died. So he knows that there's this deliverer guy that the Northerners are talking about, but he doesn't know that it's Arlen. There's also that floating in
There's so many things happening. This book review could go on for like.
Do you want me to go now?
2 days.
Are you done? Do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Or do you want to go?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, so Rozier, the way that he ends up getting his 2 wives is because he
really
starts playing. No, I want to just keep going because we're at an hour and 40 minutes.
I just want to be done at this point.
No, we're gonna keep going. So Rozier, the way that Rozier gets his wives is this is probably what my favorite part of this entire story is, this kind of element, and it's Rozier plays his fiddle for the Krasians when he's with Lisha in Jardir's court, and he plays this old song that is a Krasian song, and it basically entrances the entire court. Jardir sees through this and notices that this is basically a gift of Evram, which means God, and knows that Rozier has this. He's basically a savant. So he says, I want to give you 2 wives, Amanva and Sikva. Amanva is Jardir's daughter. Sikva is his niece. This begins the relationship between these two. Rozier doesn't know if he wants to actually marry these women. Lisha tells him not to because they're Krasian women, and he'll then basically be indebted to them. But Rozier says that he wants to marry them. So then Amanva and Sikva start traveling with Lisha and Rozier back to the Hollow. At one point, Amanva has been directed by Inevra to poison Lisha. She tries to poison her. And fails because Lisha realizes what's happening. But Lisha only basically makes Amanva sick and doesn't kill her. and spares her
He
life.
basically like warns her, like, you tried to kill me.
Yep.
I'm being merciful to you.
Yep.
Next time I won't be so nice.
Exactly.
Leisha's
Now the
kind of
other
being a badass.
exactly the other cool thing that's happening is Rozier, Amanva, and Sikva are start training together on how to use their magic. With the girls singing and Rozier playing his fiddle, they become super powerful, and their magic grows and grows. And all the while, there kind of has this really interesting relationship between the Cajun customs and Rozier, who's like a northerner, but not just a northerner. He's a very crude northerner who's he's like his whole thing is being a jester, basically, which Amanva and Sikva come from basically royalty. So you're seeing this vast difference in class, but also they're just normal culture. And it's this amazing relationship that Amanva and Sikva first think Rozier is all powerful. Then they see him in his normal day job, and they're like, wait, you're just kind of a jokester. Like, what are you doing?
Dude. We got married off to a loser.
Yep. And then Rozier shows them how powerful he is, and that's when their singing starts to grow, or their magic starts to grow with their singing and the fiddle, and they learn to respect him.
Amanva, there's this great moment where Amanva is like, you're not a warrior, to Rozier, and Rozier's like, all right, bitch, and he shows his skills. And I was just like, yeah, Rozier, send it to her, show your wife.
Do you remember what he did? He took them out into the night. Yeah. He said, you know what, we're going out into the night right now. And
he's like, really?
Get your ass dressed.
Yep. And actually they didn't get dressed, I don't even think.
Together too much.
Yeah, and they go out into the night, and all of the creations that are with them that are kind of escorting them back to the hall are like, what are you doing? You can't take these women out to the night. They don't fight. Only the men fight. And Rozier doesn't give a shit. And he goes out into the night, and he has them sing as he plays his fiddle, and they kill a bunch of demons, and that's when they really come to respect him. And that's when like kind of the bond is sealed as they love each other, they respect each other, and it continues to grow. But the other cool thing that's happening is...
The crazy thing, though, is when we're reading this book from our perspective as a man and wife are one woman and, one woman and one man. Yeah. Monogamous. This
just two people
together.
Two people.
Yeah, I should say just two people. But that's what marriage means to us. And so when you see there's two,
not a man and a woman, by the way, I just want to clarify.
No,
we are okay with.
You know what I'm saying?
Just like one, you're married to just one.
Two people.
That's how
you're
we
just married to one person.
I mean, some people are like having more than one.
But that's what I'm saying. From our perspective, reading this book, we're like, I mean, I was offended. I'm offended. I'm like, Rozier, you can't get on board with these crazy customs where there's more than one woman that you're with. What the hell are you doing? Like, I was not okay with it. Yep. And then Peter does this great thing where he teaches you about, like, how do you know this culture can't work, you prejudiced piece of crap? And I felt fully judged, because once this happens between Rozier, Amanva, and Sikva, once they are totally bonded, you are so rooting for this. What do you call them? They're not a couple. This group of people,
the throuple
that are all
or whatever,
to each other.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It was my favorite story.
You're so rooting for them, and you're just like, hell yeah, you guys got a crazy family. I'm so happy for you. You know what I mean? It's just like, it blew my mind how much I was just like, it's so on board with something that is so foreign to me. And that's what Peter is doing. And he totally does it through Rozier's story with Amanva and Sikva, because then we see that Amanva and Sikva are learning about the marriage customs, because Arlen and Rena, they get married, and Amanva and Sikva are there for the celebration, and they dance, and they show some of their pillow dancing skills, because every Domating is taught how to dance and seduce a man, and because they're supposed to always be pregnant and be in control and stuff, so they want to control men's spears to be able to control how society goes and what the plans are. And so you see Amanva and Sikva dance and have like happy celebrations for Arlen and everything, and you're seeing Rozier. It's so happy. I don't know why. I love that. I love that group.
Because it's the two Peter cultures totally coming together. Yeah, and you're finally seeing the peace between them. Yeah.
Yeah. You're seeing how they can be strong if they join up and they accept each other.
Exactly. It's beautiful.
And of course, Rozier is super happy because he's got two wives who are like fully trained. they're trained in many ways.
And beautiful, beautiful women.
The pillow.
Yeah,
ways.
beautiful women, and they're both like totally on board with. Like, if one woman's pissed, Amanva was pissed for most of this. She was like, at the beginning, before they fully bonded, Amanva was just like, Roger's a loser. I've got to go cast my bones and see what the hell's going on with my life, because I'm pretty sure it's
I'm
a
pretty sure I
shitty
got
place right now.
Yep.
So she's not interacting with Roger at all at one point. She's just staying in her room. And Sigma's just picking up the slack, like, don't worry about it, husband. And I'm just, there's never a dull moment for Roger. And Roger's actually upset. And he's like, why doesn't Amanvo want to talk to me? And I'm like, I don't know why that bitch won't talk to you. Like, you're just, Peter writes it so well. It's so entertaining. I just read that part if you want to be interested. It's pretty cool.
The other cool thing that happens with this relationship is that you think that Amanva is just going off and being pissed, but actually the whole time she's making this special thing for Roger that amplifies his fiddle. What he also learns later is that it's also a device that she can listen to, kind of what it never did with her earrings, the same. Now, Roger thinks that this is a slight against him and that she's just trying to spy on him. Yeah, but really what you learn throughout this book, what it really tries to teach you is that Enevra, she does things that Jardir doesn't like. Amanva does things that Roger doesn't like. But what these women are trying to do is they're really trying to help their men, and they're trying to be there for them at all times. And they'll sacrifice anything for the greater good. And they know that these men are special. So that's what you really come to learn with this, is that these Cajun women, yes, they will do things that the men will not like, but because it will hurt them. But ultimately, it is for the greater good, which is what they're trying to do. And
right, because again, they cast these dice that tell versions of the future, and they're trying to steer their path for the greatest outcome of the future, right?
Yeah, killing the demons, basically.
Yeah, to get power, and so they're trying to steer them in the right way so that they get the outcome they want, which is to conquer the demons.
Yep. Now, this book ends with Jardir ends up learning that Arlen is still alive, and he's obviously pissed off about it. But Arlen understands that, look, this Jardir has already taken parts of the northern world, and he's going to continue to fight them, including Lacton. So Arlen says, I got to take the fight to him. So he challenges Jardir to this thing called Dolmen Sharum, I believe. Dolmen Sharum. And it's a battle between two warriors, and
he pretty much challenges him to a duel.
Yep. And this will determine who's going to basically be the deliverer. And so they're fighting, and Jardir is very powerful, but Arlen is still stronger, and he's winning the fight. Arlen does get stabbed at one point as they go to meet in this battle. Also, what you learn is that Leisha's pregnant with Jardir's baby, just as a heads up, which comes in later. But so he's kind of pissed when they show up there because he reads it on her really quickly. But Arlen and Jardir fight. Arlen is faster. He's more used to his magic since he's been doing it longer. But Jardir is powerful. He does stab Arlen at one point, and at that point, Arlen takes Jardir and throws him off the cliff that they're fighting on. And Arlen turns to mist, so you know that he's going to be okay because he's learned this ability to dissipate and like the demons do. And it ends with Jardir landing with a bone-crunching slap on the ground. So that's how book 3 ends. Then we get into book 4, which is called, I forgot what it's called, The Skull Throne. Okay, do you guys want me to, or book 4, which is called The Skull Throne. Do you guys want me to do The Skull Throne as well? I could do it real quick. It's fairly easy, honestly, to just summarize this book, I think.
Okay.
If you guys want. Okay, so book 4 is called The Skull Throne. It opens with Jardir's not dead. Arlen has captured Jardir because he wants to keep him alive, because he wants to actually fight the demons. At one point in book 3, Arlen is captured by these mind demons that are trying to attack the towns, and they read his mind and to figure out what he knows. And Arlen sees for a brief second what they're going to do next, which is to attack Kaji's tomb. So with that information, Arlen has captured Jardir because he knows where the demons are going to strike next, and he wants to take Jardir and fight together to attack the mind demons when they go to Kaji's tomb. So the Skull Throne, though, what's happening with the Krasia is now that Krasia no longer has Jardir, they think he's dead. They are vying for power. Jardir's sons, Asomi and Jayan, are vying for power. Jayan is the first one to kind of take power. He attacks this place outside of Lacton called Docktown. He does end up taking it pretty easily, honestly. And he's basically viewed as this great warrior. Asomi, on the other hand, is kind of in the shadows right now, and he can't fight or anything because he's considered a priest. The Northerners, what's happening with them is they are gaining strength as well, and they are taking on more refugees as even Docktown's attacked. Cutter's Hollow is becoming this huge, powerful city-state in this book, and Leisha's no longer the leader of Cutter's Hollow. It's actually this guy named Thamos, Prince Thamos, who Leisha ends up having a relationship with. She has a relationship with him at first because she's trying to hide Jardir's baby. And this is because she doesn't want,
so crazy.
Yeah, she doesn't want anyone to come and kill her, basically, because this baby of Jardir's could be considered, what do you call him? An heir to the throne. Yeah, an usurper, an heir to the throne, a link, whatever. So she first gets with Prince Thamos because of that. But then they fall in love, of course. And Prince Thamos, he was a womanizer at first, and because he just slept with a lot of women, basically. He wasn't actually, I don't think, they never said he was
That's
mean
all
to
a
him.
womanizer is.
I just wanted to clarify and make sure he wasn't like beating women. He was just like, he was sleeping with a lot of women, right? And, but then he falls in love with Leisha. They fall in love together. And so that's kind of built throughout this book is their relationship, which becomes very cute. But they do end up fighting at one point because Leisha tells him that the baby isn't his and it's Jardir's. And he kind of, Thamos kind of sort of knew. He had an idea of it, but it came out in the open. And that's when they had a splitting off and were kind of separate.
And you are kind of rooting for this couple at the end. You're like, come on, man.
Yep, you really are.
Well, you just want Leisha to be happy, right? Yep. Like, can you just not be happy?
Yep, exactly.
Leisha's had a hard life.
Yeah. Now, the unfortunate thing is that Thamos was sent to try and protect
just after
Docktown.
We say, should Leisha have a nice life finally?
Yep.
Then Thamos has to go.
Yep. He has to go. He is sent by his the Duke of Milne, or is it Angiers? No, it's Angiers, right? He's from Angiers. He's from Angiers.
I don't know.
He's from Angiers. He's from Angiers because Eucor's in Milne and Eucor's in the end book. So he's from Angiers. He's like third or fourth. He's a third in line to the Duke of Angiers. Well, the Duke of Angiers is a piece of garbage and sends Thamos to actually try and protect Docktown. Well, like we said before, Giant takes Docktown, and in the process, he kills Thamos. Docktown has been lost. Thamos is dead. And the way they find out is Leisha is up with in Angiers, meeting with Arain, who's the Duchess mom of Angiers. She's the person leading. She's the mom or grandma of the men. Or she's the mom. She's the mom, right? Of the men?
Yes.
She's the mom of Thamos and of the Duke and the other men there. Well, Leisha's up there meeting with them, and then this Krasian envoy comes up there to basically say, like, hey, you basically need to succumb to us because we're going to take you over. They say, and that's when they throw Prince Thamos' head out there, and you know that he's dead. This angers the Angiers Duke, and so he tells his guards to attack him. Well, these basically, I think it's two Krasian men. They just destroy, like they almost kill everybody. Yeah. Luckily, Leisha has been learning how to basically be a Domiting, essentially. She has a demon wand of her own. She ends up turning the tide of the battle, and they kill these Krasian men. But that is after even the Duke of Angiers dies. A bunch of people die. And now it's like they have to go down to like the fourth in line person, which is like Pether or something like that. So that's happened in this book. That's another escalation in the war. What is happening with Arlen and Jardir's? They do end up attacking the. They attack the mine demons. They end up. They actually have Shanva and Shanjat were sent immediately after Jardir was sent over the cliff, and Nevra had sent these two Krasian people, father and daughter, to go and find Jardir and not come back until they had found him. Well, they do end up finding Jardir. Actually, Rena finds them, like searching for them. And now you have this group of five. Jardir, Shanva, and Shanvet are the Krasians. Ren and Arlen are the Northerners. And they end up bonding together because they're fighting the demons. And they have this great plan to fight the demon. And they're going to take this demon to the core and kill the queen so they can end this war once and for all. They have this beautiful bonding over this book and over book 5, where these five are growing together and fighting together. They end up attacking the mind demons when they go to try and basically raid the tomb of Kaji and shit all over the bones and whatnot. They capture the lead mind prince, who's named the consort. He is second in command to the queen of to the demons. They capture him throughout this book, and they're learning from him as he tries to escape. Well, during this, unfortunately, he does take over Shanva's dad's body and capture his will. And basically, Shanjat is the name of the dad. He becomes nothing at all. He becomes just this husk of a creature. This might even be in book 5. I can't remember, but whatever. Unfortunately, he becomes just a husk of the creature, and so Shanva, it's very disheartening. But they do make the plan that they're gonna
takes care of him, even though he's basically like a drooling drone now, because the mind demon has turned him into a drone. He doesn't speak anymore, but Shanva,
unless spoken to,
but Shanva, his daughter, still cares for him, still feeds him, still talks to him, and she still is trying to. And it really sucks because the mind demon will take over Shanjat's body and speak through his mouth with his words, with his voice, with everything that is that looks exactly like Shanjat, and he'll just say these awful things to Shanva. And Shanva has only for like, when Rena found Shanva and Shanjat looking for Jardir out in this deserty place, Arlen had them put into a room. He didn't hurt them. He put them into a room, fed them and everything. This is the only time that Shanva and Shanjat created a relationship. This father-daughter who have been separated most of their life because of the way Krasia works, and they haven't really known each other, and Shanva's never felt the love of her father. They finally create this bond together by being captured by Arlen and Rena. And then once they all go on this path together, Arlen, Rena, Jardir, Shanva, and Shanjat, almost immediately Shanjat is turned into this drone, and he just continually tries to ruin their bond by saying awful things to Shanva. You really start to hate these demons and their goals and everything that they stand for. The consort is thousands and thousands of years old too. And he has killed, and what they do is they eat the minds of other mind demons when they struggle to get to power, to be near the queen and to have that power. And so you discover that this consort is so old, and he keeps taunting everyone. He taunts Rena a lot, and Rena's like, I will eat your brain. Like, she's legit. She will do it. And the consort knows that, but the consort also tells her and everyone around that if she was to eat his brain, it would be so much power that she would not be able to sort through the thousands of years of knowledge that is in his brain, the thousands of years of experiences. Because when they eat the brain, they have every experience of everyone that they have, anything they have ever encountered ever. So it's like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull when she says, I want to know everything, and she's destroyed from trying to know everything. So we also discover that about the demons, their culture, how that works, and it's pretty freaking insane. Because the consorts, well, I shouldn't say that, but the consort, how he got to that power, was just through killing his own brethren and eating them. They eat brains. That's what the mind demons do. Everyone gets their brain eaten, but they consider animals to be beneath them to eat. They only want to eat human brains or their own kind's brains to gain more power. They don't like eating animal brains, like cow brains or chicken brains or anything, or he has to go through every day and minute of that salamander's life by eating its brain. So we discover we it's really cool because you're discovering just like what what their existence must be like, the demons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost impossible, I think, to be a good demon. Like, because all you're experiencing is all you're doing is eating brains all day and like usurping someone's mind.
Yeah.
It's
There's no
gross.
compassion or empathy for anybody.
Oh, but I had one question. What is the name that Jardir always uses for Arlen because they fought in the maze together? And there's a special
Parchin.
name.
No. Ajahn
Not
Pal.
Parchin.
Yeah.
Yeah, his Ajahn Pal. Jardir continually, even though Arlen is basically blasphemous to the Krasian beliefs, the things that Arlen says, that there is no creator, that Arlen does not want to believe that there would be a creator that would allow demons to be this strong and to hurt its creation, the creator's creation. He doesn't want to believe that. So he's completely blasphemous against Jardir. And one of the things I enjoy is that Jardir, he really takes his agreements as seriously as he can. And the title of Ajahn Pal that he uses for Arlen is one of the reasons why he resists sort of being aggressive toward Arlen, because they fought in the maze together, and that means so much to Jardir. And so that's part of their bond. Jardir has an honor bond with Arlen because they fought next to each other. And I don't know, that's just one thing I think is important for everyone to know, that even though Jardir and Arlen are two deliverers fighting, Jardir does resist like the temptation, because he is technically more in the physical world stronger than Arlen, because he has the spear of Kaji and because he has the crown. Because Arlen's more instinctually powerful and magically powerful, but Jardir is more physically powerful in the physical because of these two relics of Kaji.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's also happening?
Where are we? Are we on book 5?
No, we're not. Book 4 is so basically Leisha has basically just helped Angiers to kill the 2 Krasian men that were sent to basically say surrender to us. So Giant had attacked Docktown and sent those heads over saying, I've killed your people, I've taken over Docktown. And he can attack Lacton next. Basically, we're done with the story of Arlen and Jardir. They have this mind demon, and they're planning on going to the core, but the Northerners are still fighting their daylight war, basically. And Jayan, to try and gain power, he goes to attack Angiers. And when he goes to attack Angiers, he is easily taking over the battle, and Leisha's there as well, and she's trying to help them, but he's easily taking over, and they break inside. But just as they break inside, they run into Milne soldiers, and Milne soldiers actually have this ancient firepower. It's called what do they call it, fire science or something, but it's old fire weapons. And so they actually basically, it's just like guns, and they just start shooting at the Krasians, and they easily turn the tide of the war and kill all the Krasian people, turn back the attack on Angiers and send them running. So Giant has now failed. And it kind of ends with Aben, the Kafit, he is basically helping Giant to lead the attack, because he was commanded by Inevra to go with him, because he's a very smart guy, and he understands how to basically keep inventory, which is like troop supplies and troops and all that, keep all that tallied, so that way he can report on what's the best thing to do. So they do this. He does this for them, but then after the battle is turning, Giant comes back to Aben and says, what the hell, man? How did we lose? And that is when Hasik comes in and says, I was told by the dice that I could attack you guys basically after we failed at Angiers, is basically what the foretelling was. So Hasik kills Jayan, then kills everybody in the room except for Aben. And Aben had done to Hasik, because Hasik was basically R-wording Aben's wives and children. And so Hasik Aben made Hasik a eunuch.
We never said this. Hasik also, in the second book, he R-worded Jardir. just before Enevra, which we find out from Enevra knew that she would find a crying boy in the maze, and that would be the possibility of a very powerful man, possibly the deliverer, because she had cast her bones.
Mm-hmm.
And so in book 2 we find out about it from Jardir's perspective. In book 3 we find out about it from Enevra's perspective. But Hasik R-worded Jardir in the maze because they were paired up. Now Hasik, then Jardir did not kill Hasik when he gained power. He actually had Hasik working for him, pretty close to him actually, Jardir did. And then when Jardir went off to do that other thing, Hasik was taken by Jayen to work for Jayen. So now Hasik has killed Jayen and everybody else, and then he takes Aben with him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just, get ready for, if you thought it was bad, get ready for worse. Because it's gonna get gross pretty quick with Hasik because he's
Yep.
sadistic.
No, the
So
other
he is
major.
Hasik has been, like Frank was saying, Hasik has been made into a eunuch by Aben. Basically, his spear was taken away. The spear that he used to harm all these women and men. He has been doing this since he was a child. He has been harming men and women basically his whole life. So Aben took away his spear. Now Hasik is a eunuch. And now Hasik's just killed everybody and is with Aban. So what do you think's going to happen? What do you think? Exactly. It's going to get gross.
So the other major thing that happens in this book, that when the attack on Angiers happened, Roger is actually in prison because Roger, remember the guy that killed Roger's second master, Jacob? Well, Roger that happened in Angiers, and when he returns, he sees this guy again, and he starts taunting him. Roger starts taunting him because he knows that Roger is held in high esteem because he has these magical powers, and he's known as the greatest jungler in all the land. Well, then this guy comes to attack Roger, and Roger's wife Sikva basically kills him instantly because Sikva grew up learning this special fighting style with this guy named Aikido. And so Sikva kills.
We haven't even talked about Aikido.
It's all right. We're fine. Aikido's gone. He's already dead anyway. But Aikido trained them in this amazing fighting style, and Sikva learned that, and so she, looking as the small woman, just kills all these guards and then kills this guy named Jason quickly. This ends Roger in prison because now Jason is the son of Jansen, who's a powerful man in Angiers, and so they're like, Roger, basically you murdered this man. They're trying to prove it. Roger's locked up while the Battle of Angiers is happening. Jansen sends guards to kill Roger because he's going to be let free because Lisha secured his freedom with a rain. So Jansen shows up to kill Roger. Amanva and Sikva are there, but they don't have any Hora, which is the demon bones, because it's all been taken. And they try to kill all the guards, and one is about to kill Amanva, and Roger sacrifices himself to save Amanva, and then Roger ends up actually dying. And so this is obviously a terribly sad moment.
I want to say continue? This. Amanva and Sikva at this time are pregnant with Roger. They're both pregnant with Roger's children. But I also wanted to say, we haven't said this whole time that Rena is pregnant with Arlen's child.
We don't know that yet.
Yes, we do. It's book 4 at the end when we find out, isn't it?
No.
I'm just saying, everybody's pregnant. Lisha's pregnant. Amanva and Sikva are pregnant.
Yep. Those two are pregnant with Roger's children, and Amanva knew that Roger could die, and that's why she made sure that her and Sikva got pregnant so they could have these beautiful, magical babies, basically.
Yeah.
So that's how book 4 ends. Roger has died, Jayen has died, and all the while in Krasia, Asomi has assumed power, and he did this secretly by first trying to befriend his fake wife because Asomi is a homosexual. But in their culture, they still have to take wives and make children, so they have heirs, especially these royalty families. Asomi has befriended his wife named Ashea, basically because they were basically separated the entire time. They never really were a couple.
So he befriends her, but really he just uses her to grab power by fighting with her in the night to show that the Dama, the priests who are never allowed to fight, can fight. So he does that, changes the Krasian ways. And then when he's being recognized in court, he then basically kills everybody and tries to kill Ashia. So Somi is now in power in Krasia. Jayan, his Jardir's oldest son, is now dead. His second oldest son, Asomi, has taken the throne, and he is fighting with the Nevra for power over Krasia. And that's when book 5 begins. Okay, book 5. We'll go quick. So it opens with basically the group of 5 with the mind demon, and they're planning on how they can get to the core. Then we go to back to
for 3 hours.
No, it's 2 hours and 12 minutes, so I'm going to go quick. So then Lisha goes back to the Hollow because she was in Angiers. She has been using magic this entire time to fight the Krasians and the demon attacks and everything, and so her baby has grown quickly. So now Lisha, she shows back up to the Hollow. Thamos, who was the leader of the Hollow, who was sent from Angiers to lead the Hollow, he's dead. Arain, before Lisha leaves, makes Lisha the Countess of the Hollow. So now she is the leader, and she's going to take over the big kind of what do you call it? It's not a castle, but it's their big area, place that they live, whatever. So she's going to take that over. Well, as she shows back up, there's all these people waiting to see her because now she's the one in charge. Lisha has to basically ascend into, start talking to people and ascend kind of the steps to her place while she's going into labor. So Lisha finally does go into labor if she gets rid of all the people that want her attention as she first shows up, has the baby. The baby ends up actually having both parts, both a female and boy's parts.
Hermaphrodite.
Yep, which is very interesting, obviously, and doesn't happen very often. So they use the dice with Amanva. Amanva and Lisha have become very close, and Amanva cares for this child. They throw the dice and figure out that they want this to be, say that it's a girl. It's going to be very powerful and could be the next deliverer. Throughout this book, Amanva and Inevra actually show compassion for this child, and they understand that they're always trying to do what's best for the world against the demons. And since they see that this child could be the next deliverer,
children, they want to protect and raise children really well. It's like they do
anything that will
kids.
help them with the demons. If it's the best interest of the demons, they're going to do that because they know that that's Evrim's will. And so Enevra does end up having compassion for this child, and they end up sending these Damating to go and help Lisha to learn the dice, to have protections over her child and whatnot. So this is an even greater basically bonding between the Krasians and the Northerners because unfortunately, the war is coming for the Shirak cause basically here. And we see this because, okay, let me go to this.
It's too much.
I know, it's a lot. And so Garrett Cutter becomes the Baron of the Hollow in book 4, which is basically because he's a great fighter. Well, now he gets married in this book as well to this girl. There's some heartfelt moments with that.
But we find out that Alona, who is Lisha's mother, and Alona had been sleeping with Steve. We said that back in the first part at the beginning of this 2-hour journey.
Yep.
And with Garrett's father, now we find out that Alona has been basically pushing herself onto Garrett this entire time.
Yeah.
And
well, no, but then Garrett started coming to her as well.
Yeah, because Garrett, after
they had a relationship.
After Lisha was vindicated by Bruna, no other woman wanted to be with Garrett because of that situation, because Garrett had lied, because he had been promised, and he did this to Lisha. So no woman wanted him. So Alona started to go after him, Lisha's mother, and then Garrett eventually started to go along with it because no other woman would have him. So we find that out.
Well, Alona's a beautiful woman. I don't think that it's just Alona just pushing herself on. I think it's Garrett's being a guy too.
Garrett gets to this point where he's like, this is not like.
Well, after he finds Rosal, and after he talks to Arlen. So after Arlen sets him straight.
You remember Alicia when
this part doesn't matter, by the way.
When she's pregnant.
Let's go.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Alona pisses me off.
No, Lona is a savage. I'm saying that. I'm just saying Garrett is no saint. That's all I'm saying.
Straight
Garrett's no
savage.
saint. Yeah, but they're sleeping together. So now Lona's pregnant with Garrett's baby. This book also reintroduces us back to Reagan and Elissa. Now, these are the people that raised Arlen. They were in Docktown when it was attacked. They were just there visiting, and so then they were there helping. But now they're making their way back to Angers, where they're or to Milne, excuse me, where they're from. But they come across the Cutter's Hollow, basically, when Rosier's having his funeral. And so that's when they kind of get ingratiated back with Leisha. Then we also learn about this guy named Briar. Briar is from one of those short stories that Peter Brett wrote. Yep. Briar is this Cajun kid that accidentally killed his family when he was young, but they lived in the northern lands because the family was kind of outcast. Briar plays a main role in this because he is loved by a lot of people, and he's considered a northern spy because he can look like a Cajun. Well, Leisha back in like book 3 created these people called the Warded Children, where she was starting to draw wards on these kids to be more like Arlen. Well, these warded kids have kind of got out of control, so Leisha sends Briar to kind of look in on them because Briar can be super silent. Briar kind of gains the confidence of these warded children, but then he is betrayed by one of them when the one that sleeps with one of them named Stella. Well, then later when Stella's drunk on magic, she sleeps with another man. This pisses Briar off. He goes and leaves. Then we go back. Okay, so then it's more with the Mind Demon group. They're still planning this return to the core. They're going to go to the core with this Mind Demon. But before they do that, Jardir is going to go visit his wife. Then we go back to Hasik and Aubin. And Hasik is basically destroying Aubin's foot every morning, breaking all his bones. So Hasik is being crazy. Hasik then starts gaining power by killing men and capturing men and cutting off their manhood, and starts a eunuch army. He then takes over this huge monastery that's kind of outside Docktown, and Hasik's power is growing. But the weird thing is that Hasik is not attacking demons, and demons aren't attacking Hasik, which is kind of interesting, and they talk about that a couple times. So then we go back to Inevra and Ashia. So Ashia is Asomi's wife. That's the one that he first befriended her, but then was trying to kill her. So him and his lover Asukaji, who's Ashia's brother, could ascend the throne. So Inevra's looking to find Aubin. She sends Ashia to go and find Aubin because she throws the dice and sees that that's how she will find Aubin. And then we go to... Okay, so then, but before Ashia leaves, they figure out that Asukaji is still alive because they go and spy on Asomi, because Asomi basically tells Inevra that she has her mom, Manva. So then there's this huge battle between Inevra, her powerful Dama, and Asomi. They fight for power, and Inevra loses. Asomi still wins. And then that's when she sends Ashia away to go and find Aubin. So Leisha ends up gaining control back of the warded children by basically draining them of power. She accidentally kills one, but then brings it back to life because she drained too much power off of it. Then Arlen Bells comes back and meets with Leisha before he's going to go down to the Mind Palace, and meets with the group, a few people, Reagan and Alyssa, to tell them, hey, I'm leaving. Here's my last will and testament. That's when Rena goes to the warded children and tells them, hey, you little sons of bees, stop this. You're going to fight for Leisha. So the warded children have now been quelled, basically, and they were using Arlen and Rena's message to for their own interests. But now Rena's basically said, look, you little idiots, stop doing that. So now these really powerful warded children that are less powerful than Ren and Arlen, but still powerful, are helping Leisha. Amanva and Sikva return back to Inevra. There's this awesome moment where they're like, Asomi says to Sikva, hey, I didn't ask for you to come back. I just asked for Amanva to come back. And that's when Amanva and Sikva are like, well, she is now going to be Sharum Tinka, which is basically the woman warriors that have been created. So Sikva goes into the night and has to kill a demon with a out-warded spear, just a regular spear. So Sikva comes back the next day all badass and is like, hey, I didn't know which type of demon you wanted me to kill, so I killed 7. Dumps all 7 heads on the floor, and that's when Sikva is realized as badass by everybody. What's also happening is that Asomi is having his court in the daylight, so that way Enevra can't use her horror magic at night. And what happens is that he starts letting the court go slowly and slowly longer over the days into the night, and it shows Enevra that Asomi has a bunch of Dama guards that all are using horror, so he's not going to need her very soon. And then all of a sudden, Enevra's earring vibrates, and so he starts checking to see if it's Amanva. No. Sikva, no. One of his Jardir's wives, no. It's actually Jardir's earring, but Jardir's been dead. She's been thinking he's dead this whole time. So then we go back and see that Jardir actually is. Enevra learns that Jardir is alive. He has contacted her. He's flying to her right now. Obviously, they get back. They share this intimate moment. Jardir then learns that his children are basically being sons of bitches. So Jardir has to go and set his mom in line because his mom wasn't listening to Enevra. Has to set his son in line, Asomi, and then he heals Asukaji, who was injured by Ashia, his wife, when he tried to kill her when Asomi assumed power. Jardir sets all of them straight by basically showing them that he is the deliverer, and then they pledge their allegiance to Enevra. So this kind of quells the Krasian uprising that was happening, and Enevra becomes back in control. Okay, so then we go back to Reagan and Alyssa. They're on their way back up to Fort Angiers, and along the way, they're attacked by demons constantly.
Hell breaks loose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, so they make it to Angiers just fine, but when they travel from Angiers to Milne, where Reagan and Alyssa are from, they take the Kieran, the Jongleur from the beginning, and they start getting attacked at these way stations.
Fighting.
Yep.
Tons of
Tons of fighting is happening.
Tons of fighting. So basically, the mind demons are now starting to take back control. The whole point that the mind demons are trying to do is they are trying to take over different sections of. So the whole point of the mind demons, what they're going to do, and what the concert has been telling Jardir and Arlen, and they tell everybody else, is the mind demons are going to take over these different cities, and they're going to form these different, what they call larders, which is basically just these cattle for them to feed, groups of humans to feed. And this is Shirak Ka. And so as they...
essentially they're getting ready for another birthing
from the queen
of more
demons.
Yep.
And so they're forming these larders, and basically what the concert says is going to happen is these mind demons, these mind princes, whatever they call them, demon princes, are going to take a queen, and they're going to steal that egg, and they're going to form their own little hatchling, and there's going to be even more queens and even more demons. It's going to be called a swarm. So Reagan and Alyssa traveling to Milne from Angiers. Along the way, there's these things called way stations. They start seeing these way stations attacked, and now there's this organized fighting. And luckily, they do end up making it to Milne, but it was basically a crazy battle. So they get home, and then they are telling the Duke of Eucor about all this. And he says, basically, you're going to go and defend our farmland, and sends Reagan off on this basically dire mission. Reagan actually ends up fighting for the one night and saving the farm for the one night, but then he has to run back to Milne because the demons have taken it over. So now you can see that this is progressing. The demons' attacks are becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. Demons end up attacking Milne, and Alyssa and Reagan have to fight off these demons. They end up splitting up because there's this group of women that control Milne and a group of men that control Milne. So they split them up so that way the demons don't just have them all in the same place and kill them all. Well, they separate them by blasting this bridge off. So Alyssa is trying to battle these demons with the war. Yep, the demons blow the bridge up so that way they're truly separated. And the demons are in the sewers, and they're coming up from under the ground, and they're destroying these entire cities, and then they're taking over the palaces, and they're blocking out the windows so that way the demons can then control these palaces and stay even when it is daylight when they normally couldn't. Now we switch back to Briar, who is ends up finding Ashia on accident, who's pretending to be an old woman. Ashia is actually supposed to be going to look for Aben, but ends up finding Briar and is supposed to look for Briar as well, but she doesn't realize it's Briar. Well, they end up kind of fighting, and then they separate, and then Ashia goes and actually finds Kieran. Kieran is this guy that was with Aben, so Kieran's going to help Ashia get to Aben. As that's happening, Ashia is attacked by a ship by the Northerners, the Shroom's Lament. Delilah, this super sick captain that's kind of mentioned throughout the stories, attacks them, takes over Ashia's ship, but Ashia is shown the mercy because she's a woman and has a child. Briar says, hey, Ashia's actually on the secret mission. I want to go with her. And since the captain loves Briar because he's a Northerner spy, he says, okay, that's great. So now Briar and Ashia are connected, and then that's when they learn that Kaji, Ashia's son, and Briar are actually blood related, and Briar is cousins to Enevra the Damaja. Okay, so then there's some growth between them. Then we switch back to Jordan and Arlear. Yep. They actually end up making it to the mouth of the abyss where they start to head down. And this is where doesn't matter. Okay. So now they start their descent. Jardir and Arlen with the Mind Demon Shanja and Shanva. They start their descent. They come to a collapsed bridge. They have to climb down this huge steep cliff, climb back up the other side. But when they get to the bottom, there's a bunch of these poisonous spores of mushrooms. They have to freeze them, but then these weird creatures come and attack them, and they kill those. And then they go to this huge lake. Yep, and this huge lake that was created by the demons to prevent them from going any further. And they freeze the lake, but then these huge leviathans come to try and attack them. Yep, more fighting. They kill them. And then
they're just kicking ass under there, but it's scary and you never know what's going to happen.
Then there's this collapsed tunnel, and they can go underneath the water to get around this tunnel. Arlen does that. He's attacked by these little tube worms that suck his power, but he ends up killing them and eating them. But then as he turns around, he sees this thing called the Spear of Allah. Okay, so then the Damatink show up to the Hollow to protect Lisha and her child and everything. This is who Enevra sent with Amanva. So this is this cool moment where you're seeing these cultures kind of come together even more. Then you have, you figure out that they throw the dice as Lisha's learning them, that Angiers is going to be attacked. Lisha doesn't have time to send a party to rescue them, so she just sends a party to help the survivors. The survivors show up in area and tells the tale of Angiers being attacked, which is the ultimate Sharuk cost starting, because the mind demons not only are attacking with demons, but they're also taking over the minds of anybody that doesn't have a mind warrant on their helmet to protect them from entering their mind, and causing the people to turn on each other. So now all of a sudden, if a soldier took off his helmet, he started killing other people, other soldiers. They take over Angiers, and the princes have also blacked out the windows. Now they're in the palace, and they control Angiers. Okay, so then we go back to Enevra. Enevra's still trying to find a bond. She had sent Ashia away. Well, she goes and meets these guys named the Wolves, who are the separate group of Crasians who went to, who kind of are off on their own, just kind of pillaging. And she fights them, stops them from doing that, and basically says, hey, you're going to come back to us and you're going to help us take Docktown. So Enevra goes to Docktown, and she's fighting the demons at Docktown, and they're about to lose, and then these wolves come in and save the day for them, luckily because Enevra fought. Then we go to Reagan is back at, this is when Reagan goes to Harden's Grove. This is when Milne basically gets destroyed, and Alyssa's legs, Alyssa is the kind of second mom of Ireland, her legs get frozen, and Reagan is battling in the sewers. More fighting. Yeah. Then Ilona gives birth to the daughter of Garrett. And this is when they start planning for Lisha to get an army out of the Hollow, because she throws the dice and realizes that the demons are going to come and attack the Hollow. Then we go and we see the Spear of Allah back to Jardir and Arlen. The Spear of Allah is this great city that Kaji built way long ago that is going to be a stronghold for them to go and fight the demons. It's this powerful place. Jardir becomes super powerful there with the spear and crown of Kaji. They try to fix Shanjat there because Shanjat's just a husk, and Jardir can't do it, unfortunately. So then they left the Spear of Allah, and then the Mind Demon starts to
this is when the mind demon realizes if he's going to escape, this is his only chance.
Yeah, this is one of the times actually, because he tries to do this again. So the mind demon tries to escape. Yeah, he does. The mind demon tries to escape. He doesn't escape, and he ends up he attaches to a mimic and he tries to run. Jardir and Arlen get separated from Rena, Shanjat, and Shanva. And Arlen and Jardir end up killing the mimic, and that's when the mind demon actually, after they kill the mimic, they're about to kill the mind demon, and he says, I surrender. And without using Shanjat's voice, he just says it, and that's when they go, oh, what the hell? You can talk? And then he goes, yeah, after you guys way back when you first caught me and I first dissipated, I just basically transformed back into something that could talk. They're like, well, why the hell did you mess with Sanjat? And he said, just to cause trouble, basically. So that's when it's like these guys are evil pieces of shit, right? So now they're still with the mind demon, and now they're going to go to the hive with him. Okay, so
They're gonna
now
get the
Leisha travels.
queen.
Leisha travels with a small group back to Angiers, and
Who's been overrun by demons,
Yep.
and they control everyone.
Yep, and along the way, multiple mimics attack her group. So this group of mimics attack her, but Stella and the Ward of Children help save the day. Then Leisha shows up to Angiers, and they have the secret to get into the city, and they're led by the son of the old leader of Angiers named Paul, and they're led into under the sewers, and they're about to retake the palace when all of a sudden they're trapped basically by these wards, and then their weapons are stolen from them, Leisha, Wanda, and Kendall. And that's when Paul saunters into the throne room and basically realizes that Paul has been a pawn this whole time. And then the mind demons tell Leisha, like, hey, we couldn't actually kill you in the hollow. You were too strong there. So we formed this plan to let Arain leave Andrews when we attacked it. And then we had basically attached the mind of Paul, and he led you into this. And then Leisha goes, oh, yeah, muffa. And she says she'd thrown the dice and had told her, and it said that she cast dice, and they said, the boy with the blood debt will lead you into the spider's web. Only then may you strike. So Alicia says, I don't think so. And then she says, now dears, into her earring that she made learning from Enevra. And then it blows up the great ward that the demons had created. And then all of these people break the windows of the palace and storm in, and they kill all the mind demons in Angiers. Enevra leads an attack against more Leviathans. Yep. Unfortunately, when Enevra is protecting Docktown, these Leviathans destroy Lacton by creating this tidal wave that's attacking Docktown. They battle through the night, and then unfortunately, Sikva ends up dying when she is protecting the city. So that's shitty. But they do save the child of Roger.
So much shitty.
Yep. Then we're back to stupid little Hasik, and Hasik is you learn some of the worst things that he's doing to this woman instead of Aban, and this woman ends up taking her life for all the torture that he's giving her.
Hasik has created a
eunuch army.
Yes.
Yep, I said that.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yep. So Hasik is in the monastery with the eunuch army. Well, Asha finally shows up. But at the same time, Aban is getting tortured by Hasik, and always right before Aban's about to be tortured, since that woman had basically ended her life, he's now back to torturing Aban. And right before he's about to do it, Aban thinks, oh, I can give you this thing called Electrum mine. And Electrum is this really cool substance that they can coat things in that channels magic, so it makes somebody super powerful. Now this grabs Hasik's attention, and his attention has never been grabbed before. And Hasik says, I need to take you somewhere. And so Hasik leads Aban down under the monastery into the dark, and that's when you learn that Hasik has actually been working with a mind demon, and that's why the demons haven't been attacking Hasik. Now, the mind demons are interested in this Electrum because it's what allows the humans to channel their power. So this is finally, luckily, Aban had mentioned this to basically figure out what Hasik was really doing. So the mind demon starts to try and attack the will of Aban and basically read his mind. And Aban is super strong, though, because he's, like Victoria said way long ago, he's a very powerful person, super smart. So he's trying to, he's basically having a mind fight with the mind demon.
Yeah, battling wills.
Yep. And at the same time, Ashley and Briar show up in the tunnel. And Aban hears that and knows, I just need to last a little bit longer and they will come and save me. So Ashley and Briar show up. There's this huge battle. They end up killing the mind demon and the mimic, and then Hasik's left alive. The people that Hasik had made into eunuchs come down, and that's when Asha kills Hasik because of the mind. And then they throw the corpse of the mind demon and say, this is who he was following. And so they take back the monastery, and Hasik is finally dead, thank God. Then we switch back to the people down below, Jardir and Arlen. They come across these, remember, Jardir and Arlen are separated from Shanva, Shanja, and Rena. But Jardir and Arlen come across these things called Alim and Faye. This is the larder that the mind demons had taken down long ago, but now they become basically caveman. So Jardir and Arlen teach them how to use wards and start fighting. Then
These are Jardir's. These are creations,
No.
Yep.
right?
Yeah, there.
Or
Yeah.
but they're stolen. They're not the people.
They're the 1,000-year-old creations.
Yeah, they're
Oh.
descendants
Yeah, they are.
from them.
They're not the larder that you're thinking of, a knock doll. They're not that. These are the cavemen, Danielle. The knock dolls were modern humans that were stolen down to the mind demons. The consort himself, like the main mind demon, he stole that larder for himself. A knock doll. He tells them that when they find it. Because a knock doll, I didn't cover this because we were just so much time. A knock doll was the city right before the mouth that leads down to the core, and there was a group of people that the mind demon, that the demons come out of, that they can walk out of rather than mist out of the core.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Anak doll that's the people that the mind demon stole. These Alim and Fae are the old ancient creations that they stole. And now they've evolved over time. Basically, they devolved back into cavemen.
Yeah, they stole they're not the group of creations from the last deliverer, because all of those people locked themselves in that stronghold down there.
No, they are.
Okay, let's keep going.
Those people
Let's agree on
those are also people as well from the last creations as well. It's just that's not all of them, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so then there's more battling. They talk more about the battle with Reagan and Milne, which it's a super sick battle. You end up seeing a lot of old people that we didn't even mention because there's just so many characters. But luckily they kill the mind demons in Milne as well. Finally, Arlen and Jardir go down to the hive, and they finally see this queen. And Arlen and Jardir are, soon as they get close to the hive, they are going to kill the consort, and that's when he realizes, oh, this is my last chance to flee. And so he makes his last-ditch effort and flees and actually leaves completely. So the consort actually ends up being alive somewhere where you think. You don't see him actually get killed. But as he leaves, it attracts the attention of the queen, so they run into the hive basically after killing a couple of mimics, and that's when the queen sees them and calls forth 12 demon princes and their mimics. Arlen and Jardir kill a couple of them pretty quickly, but since there's so many, the battle quickly is starting to turn against them because there's just too many for them to fight. And so they're getting overpowered, and
she takes up the entire room.
Yep.
She's massive. This huge, she's huge. Just so you know, just so you can picture it.
Even bigger, I think. Even bigger than Jabba the Hutt, and
takes up this massive room.
Yep. And she has these little legs that don't really work, but then she has this humongous stinger that does work. And so right before Arlen's about to be overpowered, he actually sets fire to all the eggs in the room, because remember, the queen is laying eggs. They just haven't hatched yet because the mind demons haven't basically imprinted on them. So Arlen sets fire to him. Well, this pisses off the queen, so she stabs Arlen with her stinger, and Arlen starts dying. Like, he's trying to stop it with his magic.
Venom.
Yep, and he's trying to stop it with his magic, and he can't. And so Arlen is literally just dying. Jardir tries to help him, but he can't because he's trying to fend off the mind demons and mimics that are attacking him. And so
Rena can't help him.
Yep. So that's when Rena, Shanva, and Shanjak come back into the fray, and they are sneaking in because Arlen and Jardir have caused this distraction. And that's when Rena sees the spear of Kaji. So she sees Arlen get stung, but she knows she can't do anything to help because it won't do anything. They'll just basically last a little bit longer. So Shanva coats them in this magic by singing. They walk up to the spear of Kaji, which was knocked away from Jardir during the beginning of the fight. And they basically, Rena buries it into the queen's eye. And then Jardir comes and punches it even further into the queen's eye, and she dies. Now you think, oh, great. The queen falls dead. Yep. And and then all of a sudden, the queen lets out the last of her eggs, and the last 6 are these new hatchling queens that were going to take her power, and the queen was going to kill them, but she was waiting for mind princes to help kill these queens. These things start sucking her magic, and then they grow from basically being wolf size to being these humongous 15-foot tall
like rock demons
Yeah,
size
but we didn't really
range.
talk about rock demons and how big they were. So I don't know. They're 15-foot tall, humongous
We did.
beings
We talked about
with
one
stingers.
arm.
I know, but we didn't say how big he was. It doesn't matter. It's just so the queens.
They're
There's
huge.
now
They're
6
huge.
queens in there that are now gonna attack Arlen, Jardir, Rena, Shanva, Shanjat. Shanjat, or no, one of the queens goes to attack Rena, and then Shanva sends her father to save her, and Shanjat is instantly killed. Then I believe the same queen attacks Shanva. So then Shanjat gets killed, and then Shanva gets killed shortly after that as well. These queens are just super powerful. So now, basically, they're screwed. These 6 queens are going to kill them. They're still sucking the power from the queen and everything, but Jardir tries to protect them in the crown of Kaji by basically forming this protection ward, but then they realize there are no wards to protect them from queens. There's no wards ever created. Kaji never even made it to the queen. And so they're screwed. Arlen realizes this and realizes that he's going to die, and basically says, I'm going to go to the core, and I'm going to basically try and figure this out. And obviously this is super sad, because what we've been told this whole time is that if Arlen goes to the core, he'll never return. But they know this is their only shot, so Arlen basically dissipates, and as he goes to the core, he's basically being sucked in, but then Rena hears Rena voice call out to him, so then he channels all of his power and starts to understand what's happening in that queen room and understands what the queens are, so he's able to make these wards that actually do affect the queen, and so he kills all the demons in that queen room with this unlimited power. Then what he realizes is, hey, other people are still under attack. So he goes to Andrews, clears that of all the demons. Then he goes to Milne, clears that all of demons. And he does this by just basically being everything, everywhere, all at once sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
it's like that moment where you see the universe, where a godlike person sees the whole universe.
Yeah.
Past,
He's
present,
Neo.
future.
He's Neo.
Yeah.
He sees the Matrix.
Yep.
He can move within it and not be affected by it. He's just doing all the things.
Yeah.
And so he kills all these demons for thousands of miles, and then realizes that he stretched himself too far, and starts to dissipate because he's spread so thin over the core. And that's when Arlen basically becomes one with the core. But he does end up killing all the demons that were basically the last demons that were hurting everybody. So then Jardir and Rena are the only 2 left down in the core. And Rena goes into labor with her baby that has been growing stronger with magic as well. Jardir delivers the baby. They go back up to the surface, and that's when we kind of have the final, everybody's figuring out what's going on. So we know that Rosier's dead, Arlen's gone, and Sikva's gone, and all the women are together with all the kids. Amanva, Lisha, Rena, I don't know if Inever's there. Is she? No, I don't think Inever's there. Doesn't matter. Inever's probably with Jardir. And basically it's the Krasian and Northerners with the powerful women with their children.
All their children playing together.
Yep. And it's kind of basically peace after Arlen did what he did. And even Jardir had said after Arlen did that, he calls him the deliverer himself. So even Jardir is saying Arlen
was the deliverer.
Yep. Because he saved everybody. That's how the book series ends.
So, okay, what did you, when it ended like that, what was your guys' initial, thoughts?
Stupid.
I know, I was like, what? Like, what the hell?
Somebody's got to sacrifice themselves, though.
Yeah, you knew it was, but it was just wait a But even, I was expecting that more explanation, and maybe it's the shitty book review of, we're all just done with it. But maybe Peter was I'm ready to move on to a different story. But I was expecting a little bit more of what does Jardir do? What do their people make a peace, or I don't know.
Is their culture change? But yeah, I think Krasian culture has definitely changed tons, because at the beginning, men had very clear roles, women had very clear roles. Now we see that women can be warriors. We see that the Dama, the men priests, they can fight in the maze or against demons. Tons of things have changed in Krasian
even the
culture.
Even the Kafit end up becoming warriors.
Yep, yeah, and so everything changes there. I think it's a great balancing across all the lands. So I think he's left it open. But I think also we've seen that the Crasians and the Northerners have seen how their cultures can mix and they can create peace together, and there are benefits to both cultures in different ways. And I think we're hoping that things get better, but we're also knowing that it could just go back to the way it was eventually, just, and so I don't think there's anything you could do without writing 5 more books. And so
I
he's just like, all right,
know.
here it is,
But
there it is.
there's a little bit of hope with more though, because of Leisha's baby, right?
Olive.
Right.
Yeah.
There was so much left open, and when they cast the dice with Olive's birth and how she could become this powerful person, so maybe there will be a continuance of that.
Yeah. Other cool
But
thing
you
was
don't
that
know. You don't know because Garrett had Alona had Garrett's child, and didn't they say that that would be the leader?
no,
Garrett's
Garrett's successor. That's what I was just gonna say.
successor.
Yeah, because Garrett has a bunch of sons with Rosal, his wife that he has, but Ilona gives birth to a daughter, and when Ilona gives birth, that's when Leisha remembers the dice that Amanva threw for Garrett, and told him that Garrett will have lots of sons, but the daughter will be his successor. And so as soon as she sees that Ilona had given birth to a daughter, she's like, "This is Garrett's baby." Like she knew, because it wasn't Ernie's. It could have been Ernie's, who's Alona's husband.
You're right.
Some funny things that I wrote though was that I realized the suffix female was ting around book 4. I was like, oh, that means girl. So I was kind of stupid about that. Oh, I also said I love how the books make up their own cuss words. Like they say correspond for hell. So they say like correspond you won't, stuff like that.
Yeah. Or
I love when
correspond it.
Yeah, correspond it. Like gosh dang it, like that's what it means. Well, gosh damn it. But it does annoy me when they do it, because it's like, I don't know, it feels kind of cheesy. It feels like you're saying those fake cuss words like cheese and rice and stuff. So it annoys me a little bit, but I understand why they do it, because it's an easy way to get around. You can curse with the people without making the book say literally
I say
curse
cheese
words.
and crackers. Well, cheese and crackers. If I can't curse.
I say brownie.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is that so Arlen says this ain't the only hive in the world, and we aren't the only humans. So that definitely leaves it open to there's more books that could be written. And the other thing I will say is there, Peter Brett is working on another book called The Desert Prince.
Oh.
Now that was supposed to be released in like 2021, but I don't know what's happening with it. And it's
COVID happened to it.
It's in the same universe, but I don't know what it's about.
Well, remember there was a group of people that left
The Maja.
the northern. Yeah, so we'll see.
Oh wait, I think it's out.
We just did this big wrap up, and it's like, and there's another book.
It takes place approximately 15 years after ending in court. Tells the tale of 2 young protagonists, Olive Paper and Darren Bells.
Oh snap!
So Olive is Leisha's baby, and Darren is Rena's and Arlen's baby.
And remember when Yelly said originally, she was like, dude, what if
I did say that.
You did say that.
Yeah, she did. She did, because I was talking about how I wanted Leisha and Arlen to get together. So the question is, do we read that next?
No,
No.
we don't.
Are we done with this?
No,
Yeah, we have to be done with it for a while, because there are 3 other books. There's that book that he wrote, and then there's the 2 side stories.
No, those are
And I
novellas.
think-
Those are like 75 pages. Those are nothing.
Look,
Those just tell about
I'm
Briar and
okay.
Derek. I'm not reading those. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not reading them. I don't care about Derek. I don't care about Briar.
I'm just saying though that there's more. There's going to be more. And there was a lot of stuff. Sorry that we have a shitty book report. We're totally going to do better in the future. In
We
the
have to do
future,
better.
we already know what it is, because Danielle I was the one who suggested The Warded Man, because I read it years ago. I didn't read the whole series though, so I got to read it with my siblings. But Danielle suggested after this book that we read another trilogy, or a trilogy, by Nora Roberts. And so Yelly can tell us a little bit about what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so it's 3 books. It's about magic that is reawakened in the human world, so in real time.
In modern world.
In modern world, there you go.
Yeah.
And sorry, I was just trying to pull up the names. So
it's year 1.
Yeah, year 1 is the name of the first book.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still staying in the fantasy realm, but this is just 3 books. Definitely not as long as Peter's Brett's books were so good. It is hard to review them though, and know what characters to pull out and what storylines to pull out to tell you guys about.
And honestly, the other storylines we didn't cover were great.
I know there's so many things we did not cover.
Like Ashia's story and Sikva, how they're growing up with Enkidu.
I know exactly the way to put this. The Demon Cycle series is kind of a Lord of the Rings in epicness scale wise,
like Star Wars or so many,
or Star Wars, something where there are so many storylines you could go down. So it really is a great book to get into if you're wanting that huge spanning character groups and all of that you want to follow, and storylines and progressions and world building, because Peter's great at that. So it is like Lord of the Rings style, Star Wars style in its scope. So it is a big deal. But we're going to start reading year 1. Yeah, go read it. But we're going to start reading year 1, and we're instead going to be taking notes as we go, all of us, so we actually can sort of come to you with a maybe C grade or above level of explaining it for the people who are not going to read it, who just want to kind of listen to us. But that is the plan for the next week. And for the end of this the trilogy that we're about to read, we will be able to wrap it up in about, I'm going to say a C grade. I'm going to say that right now, about a C grade, or hopefully better quality, because I think right now we're kind of skimming the D- area.
We would have been pulled off the stage. Like, you're done.
It's 3 hours long, man. Oh my gosh.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
So we're
super excited.
Yeah.
Super excited. We're going to go on to year 1 by Nora Roberts. So if you do want to know what the heck we're talking about, probably know more than us because our recall is sketchy at best. You can read along with us. If you want to listen, we are going to prepare a lot better. So if you don't want to read it, you can just get the story from us. We hope you come back and join us even after this performance. We tried, though. We tried for you super hard. I don't know if you could tell, but we did care a little bit.
Hey, we did it. We wrapped it up, man. 5 books.
We wrapped it up. This is a lot.
This is
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming to Unseasoned Reviews. Clearly, we earned the name.
Clearly.
What do you guys want to end this with?
No. See you later. But I will say real quick that it is going to be another series,
I thought so.
Yeah.
That's why we just do it later.
Yeah, we'll do it later. We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to it. We'll revisit.
We will not do another huge summer like this before we read it.
We will not.
So
no
you'll have to read
these.
this. You'll have to listen to this piece of garbage.
Or not. Or there's lots of skip forwards.
Yes. Year 1. That's what we're reading next. Like they said. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.